All right, good morning, everybody. Today is March 26, 2024, and we will go ahead and call this meeting to order, regular meeting for the Lake County Board of Supervisors. We're going to begin with a moment of silence, and before I start mine, I'm going to ask if any other board member has a moment of silence. And so I have one right here in front of me, and this is for Lauralee Ivory, who worked with our social services department, who unfortunately passed away just this past weekend. Lauralee had a remarkable career with the County of Lake since her hiring as an eligibility worker in July 2015. Her 5 promotions during her tenure signify her exceptional dedication, hard work, and skills. Her promotion to social worker in 2017 marked a significant transition in her career path with a more direct focus on social work. Her subsequent promotion to social worker 3 in 2021 underscores her continued growth and proficiency within the field of social services. This progression highlights both her commitment to her profession and her dedication to serving the people of Lake County. Lauralee's career is a testament to her unwavering passion for social services and her steadfast commitment to making a positive impact on the community she served. And we are so thankful to have had Lori as part of our team here in Lake County. And if we could please rise and hold her family and friends in our hearts. And if there's more
I had just another one. Everyone that's being affected, that's been injured or is out searching for the bridge collapse in Baltimore this morning.
Thank you. Supervisor Simon, would you please lead us in the pledge?
Yes. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Moving on in our agenda, are there any extra items that were not posted on this agenda?
No, there are not.
And nothing from board members as well. So we shall move on to our consent agenda. I do have 3 items that will be pulled for further discussion. Items 5.2, 5.5, and 5.6. Are there any other items the board wishes to pull? And seeing none, let's go ahead and open up for the public. If you have any items you wish to pull, please come on up to the microphone and let us know, or if you're on Zoom, please use the raise hand function. It's so good to see so many people in the room. So no hands anywhere, and I'll bring it back to the board for action.
Move to approve the consent agenda with the exception of items 5.2, 5.5, and 5.6.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. And we are at 9:04 a.m. Let's go ahead and move on to public input, our 9:02 a.m. item. If you have any public input that you wish to speak and express to the Board of Supervisors for something that is not on our agenda today, please come on up to the microphone and you will have 3 minutes. I see no one in the chamber. I do see a hand in Zoom. If we can get Aaron M., please, you have 3 minutes.
Hello, board. Thank you. I just wanted to quickly request, I think this is the forum for it, but an extension to the equity grant, the cannabis equity grant. The deadline was last Friday. And I've emailed Casey Moreno for this request as well, but she is out until April 1st, so I'm not sure if it will go through. But I would like to request an extension. There's $800,000 this round. The link did not seem to work up until Friday, and the incorrect deadline was listed on the website. So I think it's really important for the board, especially since we don't want to see that $800,000 get returned to the state. So I'll keep everyone apprised if I receive an email, but I'm not sure what the next. It's just a request for an extra deadline. Last year's deadline was in May, so I don't see why this one couldn't be extended. Thank you so much.
Appreciate your comment. Thank you very much.
It's Aaron McCarrick.
Aaron McCarrick, yes.
Oh, yeah, and Clear Lake. Thank you.
Thank you. And I see no further hands up in Zoom and no one in the room charging to the microphone, so we will go ahead and close public comment and move on to our 9:03 a.m. item 6.2, Pet of the Week. And we have Officer Kopis.
Hi, my name is Officer Kopis with Lake County Animal Care Control. Today I have brought a 1-year-old lab mix, maybe mixed with terrier. She came to us as a stray. She's been really, really sweet with us. We named her Queenie, and she's been a little shy with people at first, but she's warming up pretty quick this morning. She's trying to greet everybody walking in the door right now, and she'd be good in any home. She'll warm up super quick in the right home with the right people. She did really well with the kitten first thing this morning, and she'd be super sweet. She loves toys, anything squeaks. She likes water. She'll probably love to go swimming this summer. She's just an all-around good dog. If you'd like to see her or any of our other adoptable pets, they're at 4949 Hellbrush Drive in Lakeport behind the county jail. And our phone number for any kind of questions or concerns, you can always call us at 707-263-0278. And our last week's dog, Gunner, he got adopted and he will be going home today as well.
Well, we hope the same for Queenie, and with the amount of people in this room, absolutely great behavior,
Yes, yeah, she's doing really, really well.
especially for a 1-year-old.
Yeah, and very, very timid at first too, but she's warming up pretty good.
Love it. Thank you so much, Officer Kopis.
Thank you, guys.
And we're going to move on to our 9:05 a.m. item 6.3. We're going to be sitting as the Lake County Housing Commission. We're going to do a little musical chairs here for a second. And if Commissioner Figueroa could come up, please. And I'll go ahead and read the item. Consideration of the Lake County Housing Commission Housing Choice Voucher Program Administrative Plan for 2024 and 5-year plan for 24 to 29, and signing of HUD forms HUD 50077-CR, HUD 50077-SL, and HUD 5075-5Y. I think it's a 5Y. And let's go ahead and start with Ms. Farraco.
Good morning, Board. My name is Lisa Farraco. I'm the Program Manager for Housing at the Department of Social Services, the agency that oversees the Public Housing Authority for Lake County. I'm joined by Teresa Wold, our Housing Program Coordinator.
Good morning.
Today, we are seeking approval from the Board of Housing Commissioners for the 2024 Administrative Plan and the 24 through 29 5-year plan. And I'm just going to say admin plan moving forward, because I've got to say it a lot. The admin plan is the policy and procedure manual for the housing programs we oversee. The 5-year plan details our goals for the next 5 years. Each year, the admin plan is updated with revisions specified by HUD, plus any changes needed at the local level. This year, we did a full revision of the admin plan due to the extensive programmatic and procedural updates required by the Housing Opportunity Through Modernization Act, or HOPMA. Every year, we follow the same process. We properly notice and then hold a public hearing to go over any proposed changes. Prior to the public hearing, we have a 45-day public comment period. The proposed plans are posted and available for any member of the public to read and provide comments or recommendations. This year, the hearing was held on February 7th. Attendees included a member of the Resident Advisory Board, a member of the public, and Housing Commission staff. During the meeting, staff gave a presentation detailing the proposed changes for the admin plan and the new 5-year plan. We discussed the public comments that we received and any proposed changes to the admin plan. We have implemented one of the proposed changes from our public comment. No public comment was received regarding the 5-year plan, so it was approved to be submitted to your board and to HUD as written. Along with this presentation of our plans, the PHA is requesting that the chair of the Board of Housing Commissioners sign our annual Civil Rights Certification form. This form is basically a statement verifying we will perform our duties as required by HUD. We also have the certification by state or local official of PHA plan's consistency with the Consolidated Plan form and the 5-year PHA plan form to be signed as required with submission for the 5-year plan to HUD. Included in the packet submitted to your board was an overview of the public comment we received regarding the annual admin plan, if you'd like to discuss it. If any of the board members have questions, Teresa and I are happy to answer them.
Thank you very much for presenting this item. Are there any questions or comments from commissioners? Seeing none, let's open it up for the public. Any questions or comments? I'll bring it back to the board.
Move to approve the Lake County Housing Commission Housing Choice Voucher Program Administrative Plan for 2024 and the 5-year plan for 2024 through 2029, and sign HUD Forms H50077CR, 50077SL, and 5075-5Y.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you very much.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Thank you, board.
Going to move on to our presentation, our 9:07 a.m. item, 6.4, presentation of proclamation designating the month of March 2024 as Women's History Month in Lake County, and Supervisor Pyska will read that.
I'd like to invite all the women up. Everyone that's here, come on up.
Get up there, Joe.
Susan and Johanna. Everybody. Everybody.
Grab her. Yeah. Make her get up there. She's just gonna stand up.
Anywhere you want. Up, as long as you're up on this side of the seats.
They could come over this way too.
Come on up. There's
I think
plenty
we
of
can
room
get
up.
everybody
There
up
really
here.
All
is.
the way through.
Come on up.
All the way across. Yep, go ahead.
Right.
We got lots more room.
You did a great job filling the house today.
Hey, Katie.
What are you doing? Yes, I got it. Yeah, I'll pass it down.
Come on, there's still room. There's still room. Come on up. Come on. Thank you. If you can make another row. So I know some of you are here for, well, there's a lot of reasons you're here today. The point is you're here today. And I want all of us to be up here. We can all be recognized and celebrate. This is our month. Okay. So thank you all for being here. The Board of Supervisors, County of Lake, State of California proclamation designating the month of March 2024 as Women's History Month in Lake County. Whereas American women of every race, class, and ethnic background have made historic contributions to the growth and strength of our nation in countless recorded and unrecorded ways. Whereas American women have played and continue to play critical economic, cultural, and social roles in every sphere of the life of the nation by constituting a significant portion of the labor force working inside and outside the home. And whereas American women have played a unique role throughout the history of the nation by providing the majority of the women of the volunteer labor force of the nation. And whereas American women were particularly important in the establishment of early charitable, philanthropic, and cultural institutions in our nation. And whereas American women of every race, class, and ethnic background served as early leaders in the forefront of every major progressive social change movement. And whereas American women have served our country courageously in the military, and whereas American women have been leaders not only in securing their own right of suffrage and equal opportunity, but also in the abolitionist movement, the emancipation movement, and the industrial labor movement, the civil rights movement, and other movements, especially the peace movement, which create a more fair and just society for all. And whereas, despite these contributions, the role of American women in history has been consistently overlooked and undervalued in the literature, teaching, and study of American history. Now, therefore, be it proclaimed by the Board of Supervisors, this County of Lake does hereby designate March 2024 as Women's History Month in Lake County, passed and adopted this 26th day of March. So you are the leaders, the volunteers, the workers, the engines. You are the people, the women of our county that keep moving us forward. And we still have a way to go for equal representation, although we're killing it in this room today. But I want to thank you. I want to thank you all for everything that you do, because your representation matters. Your piece in the process and all of the work that we do collectively truly matters. So thank you so much for being here today. And I want to see if anyone wants the microphone. Somebody. We have too many people up here. All right, Jillian, come here.
I'm going to say something.
Yes, you
Well, thank you so much for doing this and for really giving us hope that we come from this long line of really strong women behind us. I decided today I'm going to call them our foremothers. And it gives us a lot of perspective on how much they were able to accomplish and courage for us to continue with a lot of battles that carry on. I have to say today that I saw at the Supreme Court in a very important argument, 3 women were arguing this important case. So that was sort of a wonderful day for us. So thank you, Jessica, for doing this.
So it's just one of the things that I always try to keep in mind is that we have different phases in our responsibility to keep these movements going. So we, as children, we're inspired by the leaders and mentors that we look up to. And then in this phase of our life, we have a lot of phases represented up here, but we're doing the work that we've been inspired to do. And then older in life, we have to pick up the responsibility to mentor and inspire the younger generations. So this cycle for all of us never stops. So we're going to keep inspiring those children and those girls and those entering college right now and entering the workforce. That is how we're going to keep this work moving forward. So thank you all for being here. And I'm going to, one more time, see if anyone wants a microphone. Anyone? Okay.
And please stay up here for a very large picture. The photographer is in the back.
The only way I'm going to get you is back here. Okay, I can't see if everybody's smiling when I'm doing Just making sure I got everybody. Okay. Yeah, the woman, yeah, right there. All right, I'm make sure we have everybody. Thanks so much.
That was a good one, Sam.
Who did? Is she coming?
She's actually.
Oh, okay, because Sherry said she wasn't going to make it. And I invited her. She says she's out of state, but she would.
She's always doing random stuff. Reminding they have an incorporation.
I hope Carolyn was in the picture.
I know.
So we're going to move on to item 6.5, or 9:15 a.m. item. Before we start the presentation, I'm going to make a quick request. Please stay throughout the whole presentation so we can make sure and thank all of our staff and not just slowly trickle out. I think we all need to hear the applause from all departments. We all work together. We're all part of the public service that we provide to our community. So I just want to make sure that we all stay in the room and listen to the presentation. So please do so if you can. Presentation of the semi-annual Employee Service Awards for the County of Lake to recognize years of service. And looking at Pam Sam, there you are.
Thank you.
If you want to bring the microphone up to you, please.
As Supervisor Sabatier said, we celebrate twice a year our employees, and we come together to say thank you for your hard work. We start by celebrating the 5 years and then go in 5-year increments. We'll call each department head or designee up to celebrate their employees. Thank you. So first we have that.
That's fine. Good morning, everybody. This morning, I have the pleasure of introducing Carolyn Purdy for her 10-year recognition.
Next, we have the Ag Commissioner, Catherine.
I'll leave this here.
Well, good morning. This morning I have the pleasure to acknowledge Avella Gayton for 5 years of service as our administrative assistant.
So I'll be presenting the award for air quality, Elizabeth Knight, 20 years.
Susan's got a 5-year.
Next, we have Genevieve with the Auditor Controller. Wait a minute, I saw her. Oopsie.
Thank you. I'm proud to recognize Christopher Allen for 5 years of service at Lake County.
Next up, we have Behavioral Health.
Okay.
Okay, so first we have Jenna Lewis for 5 years. We also have Danielle McAtee with 5 years. Anna Perez, peer support specialist for 5 years. I don't see her in the room, but Danielle Woodford, 5 years. Summer Trongo, 10 years. And Julia Gray for 20 years.
Sorry, Ron's over there. There you go. Congratulations.
Next up, we have Child Support Services, Cindy Van Leeuwen.
Good morning. Today, I am proud to announce service awards. We're going to start with Paula Cruz for 10 years of service. Thank you, Paula. Next, we're going to celebrate Kelly Esser with 10 years of service. Thank you, Kelly. Got it. Next, we have Jamie Holt with 10 years of service. Thank you, Jamie. And last, we have Ken Roush, a child support attorney with 15 years of service. Ken couldn't be here today, but congratulations, Ken.
Next up, we have Community Development, Maria Turner.
Thank you. I have 3 fivers today. Nick Reed is our building inspector senior who couldn't be here today. But one thing I just wanted to share about Nick is that he goes from certification to certification, and he's always growing and developing his skills. He just passed residential plumbing, and he's now getting ready for residential electrical. So we really appreciate him. Our next one, Marcus Beltramo, our code enforcement manager. In the time Marcus has been with us, he's taken a team of young officers, and now they're all certified. They're a unified team they face difficult situations every day, and they do it with a lot of heart. So this is a testament to Marcus's management. And then lastly, we have Ryan Wengberg. He is the newest addition to our code enforcement team, and his enthusiasm to learn and take on new skills, including drones, has just been like this invigorating sort of breeze through the code enforcement team, inspiring everybody. Thank you.
Next up, we have District Attorney Susan Cronus.
Well, I'm really happy to recognize Rebecca Pippin. So if you would come up, she is an amazing office assistant. She has taken on so much over the years. Thank you so much for your work. And I have Doris Langford for 15 years. Doris is I could not do my job without her. She saves my butt every single day, and even weekends. So thank you so much.
Next up, we have elections. Maria Valdez. Oh, yes. Okay. Uh-huh.
Good morning. I think we're going to go through all the alphabet before there we are. Back. Good morning. Maria Valadez would like to congratulate Yesenia Lopez for 5 years with the County of Lake, 2.5 years with the Registrar of Voters, and previously with the library. Sorry, Christopher, but thank you to us and thank you to the county for having such a great worker. She's certified election administrator now. So.
Next, I'd like to invite up Health Services, Anthony Anton.
Good morning. We have 6 wonderful staff members to celebrate this morning. First one is Donna Bogan with 5 years of service. Next up is Craig Weatherby with 10 years of service. I gotta work on the handshake. We'll do it after. Next up, Dolores Trimper with 10 years of service. I don't believe she's. And then Saul Sanabria with 10 years of county service. Next up is Amanda Frizzell with 15 years of county service. Let's shake the hand first. There we go. Getting the hang of this. And last but not least, Kelly Hanlon with 15 years of service.
Next up is me. Today I'd like to celebrate Brittany Walker with 10 years. She started out as a juvenile correction officer in 2013, and we were lucky enough to nab her in 2015 when she came to Human Resources. She is an asset to our team, a joy to have. Her laugh is infectious. Her sense of humor keeps us laughing all day long. But social services and child support are lucky to have her as their strategic partner. Thank you, Brittany. Next up, we have probation.
Thank you. And I'm apologizing for Chief Monfran's not being available today. So first up, we have Jeffrey Morin, legal assistant, 5 years. I remember Jeff sitting all by himself in COVID days. It was very sad, but he represented the department very well. He did a great job. And he's still doing a great job, of course. Next we have, where am I? Oh, it's terrible to get old. Claudia Costa, she's not here today because she is busy changing lives, 15 years. Also, Kevin Lewis, 15 years. He is not able to be here today. And Kelly Moore, also not here today, changing lives, 20 years.
Thank you. Next up, we have Public Services, Lars Ewan. Did you take my...
Well, mine is going to be really quick. 2 employees, Louis Sims and Katie Galvani. I'll say neither of them who wanted to be here. They appreciate it. They just do not want to be in front of everyone, but I want to thank them for their 10 years of service. Louis has promoted up through Parks. He's an area supervisor now, and Katie is our deputy director for finance and admin, doing amazing work behind scenes, and I can't thank them enough. But I will take their awards and hand them back to them.
Public Works, Scott DeLeon.
All right. Good morning. Happy and proud to be here. I think this individual may have started with the county when she was 7. Sylvia Valadez, where are you, Sylvia? Come on up here so I can embarrass you more. Sylvia started with special districts in 2003. We were very fortunate to get her to come over to Public Works in 2012, August of 2012. She started off as a accounting technician, and she is our Public Works analyst and probably handles two of the most challenging budget units in our department because of the ever-changing costs, and she manages our fleet and all of our heavy equipment for the road department. So incredible amount of responsibility, and she does a wonderful job. So 20 years, congratulations.
Next up, we have the Sheriff's Department, Joe Dutra.
My pleasure to recognize Deputy Colin Coddington for 5 years of service. He won't be very happy about this, but it's also his birthday today.
Ah, happy birthday.
Next up, we have Social Services, Crystal Markentan.
Good morning. It's a little short. There we go. I would like to gratefully acknowledge the following staff. Gracia Albin, Eligibility Specialist 2, 5 years. Is Gracia here? Karen Coral, Social Worker 3, 5 years. Marisha Davi, Office Assistant 3, 5 years. And let's see, I lost my place. Nicole Johnson, Eligibility Specialist 3. And Rebecca Reynolds, Accounting Technician Senior. Troy Sherman, Social Worker 3, CPS, Child Welfare. 5 years. Tony Thomas, Social Services Aide Senior, 5 years. Emily Thornton, Office Assistant 3, 5 years. Thank you. And Jennifer Ferrario, Eligibility Specialist 3, 10 years. Melinda Gomes, Fiscal Support Supervisor, 10 years. Carrie Holt, I know I saw her, Staff Services Manager, 10 years. Robin Moritz, Social Worker 3, Child Welfare, 10 years. Janine Smith, Eligibility Specialist 3, 10 years. Thomas Swanson, Social Worker Supervisor 1, 10 years. Thank you so much. Teresa Fuentes, Supervising Staff Analyst, 15 years. And Kathy Rinaldi, Eligibility Specialist Supervisor, also 15 years. Teresa Schoen, Program Manager for Employment Services, 15 years. And finally, Jean Bowers, Eligibility Specialist Supervisor, 30 years. And that's it. Thank you all.
Next, we have Scott Harder, Special Districts.
Good morning. Thank you. Happy to be here and recognize Donald Beets, our utility worker senior for 5 years of service. He's our lead worker down in South.
Treasurer Tax, Patrick Sullivan.
All right, I would like to honor Rich Mathias, our collection supervisor, and the reason that division runs smoothly every day. So come on up.
Next, we have Supervisor Sabatier to honor a department head.
And then,
Yeah, he's right here.
so first off, 5 years, our county administrator, Susan Parker, who did not want to come up, but will. I'm going to bring back up one person as well, and hopefully we're not missing anybody, but Patrick Sullivan, 5 years. Thank you very much. And there is one more, Mr. Gearhart, 5 years, 20 years, Air Pollution Control Officer.
I'm back again. We'd like to honor today 2 of our supervisors. Supervisor Sabatier, 5 years. Supervisor Crandall, 5 years. I'd just like to take this time to say thank you to all of you. Everybody works so hard, and we're so proud of all of our staff. I'd like to acknowledge Cherish, who puts together this presentation, hounds you all for your pictures, and just does a delightful job helping to celebrate all of our employees.
So I just want to take a quick moment. This room is all about public service. We all play our part. It takes many, many parts to make our community safe, work efficiently, and be able to prosper and move forward. And you all play a part in this. And you are the ones doing the work. You are getting the work done. We talk about it. You get it done. And the appreciation, the commitment that you have, there are people here that are 15, 20, all the way to 30 years, and that level of commitment, not just to your career, but to our communities, is absolutely amazing and wonderful to experience and exhibit right here in our room, in our chambers. And I just want to say that you all, I wanted to keep you all in the same room because I want to make sure and do this for all of you, and I just want to give you guys a standing ovation and say thank you so much for your work. And if any other board members have any comments before? Or they're leaving. That's the commitment we were talking about.
Back to work.
So let's go ahead and take a 5-minute break, and we'll continue after that. let's go ahead and continue. We do have an item up in 4 minutes, so I think I'm going to take up a couple of quick and easy pulled consent items. Number one is 5.2, second reading of an ordinance amending the purchasing ordinance, Article 10 of Chapter 2 of the Lake County Code to include increased purchasing limits, additional definitions, modify requirements for exemptions from competitive bidding, and additional procedures for informal and formal bidding. I pulled this item personally just because I want to be on record with my vote. I don't have any need for a conversation or argument, so we already went through that in the first reading unless other board members have something that I'm unaware of. But I just wanted to pull that for, again, getting the vote on record. Any comments or questions from board members related to this item? And seeing none, open it up for the public. Any comments or questions from the public on this item? This is 5.2. This is the purchasing ordinance revision. And I'm going to bring it back to the board for action.
There's nothing further, Chair. I move to approve the second reading of an ordinance amending the purchasing ordinance, Article 10 of Chapter 2 of the Lake County Code to include increased purchasing limits, additional definitions, modify the requirements for exemptions from competitive bidding, and additional procedures for informal and formal bidding.
Second.
Chair, if I may.
I'm going to pause the motion for 1 second.
And in addition to that motion, if the ordinance can also be offered as well with a roll call vote. Since it's
afterwards, or?
It can be done afterwards.
Okay, so let's go ahead and go through. We have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Nay. Motion carries. And let's go ahead and offer the ordinance.
I offer the ordinance.
Okay, Supervisor Simon?
Yes.
Supervisor Crandall?
Aye.
Supervisor Green?
Aye.
Supervisor Pyska?
Yes.
And Supervisor Sabatier?
Nay. All right, thank you very much. Let's see if we can quickly go through 5.6, the approval of the Board of Supervisors meeting minutes from March 19th, 2024. Again, I pulled this item. There was a conversation about the Canocti Gardens housing development, and in there it says no action taken. But we did provide consensus and direction to staff to meet with the City of Clear Lake and the developer, and I just wanted to put that in that item. And I apologize, but I think it's 6.3. No, 6.4. Says presentation only. If we can add direction to staff to meet for city and special districts and developer to meet. Any comments or questions regarding this?
Agree with the change.
Okay. Open it up for the public. Any comments or questions regarding this item? And bringing it back for action, if possible, with the amendment.
Move to approve the minutes of the March 19th Board of Supervisors meeting with the amendment proposed by Chair Sabatier.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye. Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. And that leads us to exactly 10 a.m. So our 10 a.m. item continued from March 19th, 2024. This is a public hearing, a consideration of resolution approving an application for funding and the execution of a grant agreement and any amendments thereto from the 23-24 funding year of the State CDBG Mitigation Resilience Infrastructure Program, and be authorized the county administrative officer or designee to submit the grant application. And we have Ms. Logsdon today.
Thank you. Is this on? Yeah.
Should be.
Terry Logsdon, Chief Climate Resiliency Officer, and as you are aware from the board packet, this was an opportunity for the County of Lake. There were several municipalities and counties that had an allocation under this housing and community development funding, and so we would like to submit a grant that would include the LG Sonic Buoy Algal Mitigation Project, which has come before your board, as well as PAVE, the Spring Valley Community Center, which is owned by special districts. You may or may not be aware that when PG&E, if there's a PSPS in the Spring Valley area, they cannot stand up a CRC, a Community Resource Center there, because the parking lot is gravel. And so this is an opportunity to do that for the community, and it can serve as a CRC. There is a culvert that is needed at OES between, I think she said the AWP and OES, but it would help alleviate flooding and runoff. I don't know if it's flooding, but just runoff. And then the Kelseyville Senior Center, which was recently purchased, would allow upgrading of the facility so that in the future it could serve as a community resilience center. So that's what we're looking at, and I'm asking for your approval to submit the grant.
Thank you very much for putting this together for us. Any comments or questions from board members? Supervisor Green?
Just, we were talking about follow the bouncing ball. So LG Sonic, I forget if that was BRC approved.
It was.
Didn't get funded.
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions or comments? Just for the specifics of the LG Sonic, it is as the board had requested, which was a change of the overall plan that was proposed. We eliminated the Clear Lake Oaks side, just like it was discussed. The increase is due to increases in the new estimate that we received, or the new invoice that we received from them, with increases in cost in compared to the years past, and some of those costs are also staff-related up in water resources as well.
Correct.
So just wanted to at least provide that. Everything else on there, I hope that we can get all of this funding and make all those things possible. That would be great. If there's nothing further, let's open it up for public comment. I see no hands raised in Zoom and no one rushing to the microphone, so I'll bring it back to the board for the resolution.
Mr. Chair, I move to adopt a resolution approving an application for funding and the execution of a grant agreement and any amendments thereto from the 2023-2024 funding year of the state CDBG Mitigation Resilience Infrastructure Program, and B, authorize the county administrative officer or designee to submit the grant application.
Did we need to offer the resolution or a motion?
Sorry, two things. I'll offer the resolution.
Resolution has been offered.
Felt like reading.
All right, Supervisor Simon,
Yes.
Supervisor Crandall.
Aye.
Supervisor Green.
Aye.
Supervisor Pyska.
Yes.
And Supervisor Sabatier.
Aye.
And I will move to authorize the county administrative officer or designee to submit the grant application.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay, we have time between our next items, so let's go ahead, and I see we have behavioral health with us, so let's go ahead and go through some of those items. And if you don't mind, we'll start with our 5.5. And 5.5 is approve amendment number 1 to the agreement between County of Lake and IDEA for consulting for professional consulting services in the amount of $50,000 for fiscal year 2023-2024, and authorize the chair to sign. Welcome, Director Jones.
Good morning. Thank you. Actually, we would like to remove this and bring it back at a later date. We've identified an error.
Oh, okay. So we will go ahead and see that in a future agenda item, but let's go ahead and go to your other untimed items, and I believe we start at 7.3, consideration of agreement between County of Lake and BHC Sierra Vista Hospital Incorporated for acute inpatient psychiatric hospital services and professional services associated with acute inpatient psychiatric hospitalizations in the amount of $100,000 for fiscal year 23-24. Director Jones.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Yes, this, along with several other agreements, are primarily around hospitalization or very high levels of care. Typically, we would have had this agreement with BHC Sierra Vista earlier on in the fiscal year. Unfortunately, due to an oversight and having bills to pay, we're bringing it forward now. And this projection will carry us through to the end of the fiscal year for all of the hospital stays. This is my Deputy Director of Administration, Christine, and I just want to clarify with her that this, for BHC, it's for 12 to 17-year-olds where it's Medi-Cal reimbursable. Unfortunately, people outside of that age range, we pay out of realignment. We do try to limit the amount of people who go to that hospital who are not within the covered age range. I don't understand why hospitals do this. It makes no sense, but here we are. However, that being said, it's not always possible due to limited availability of beds across the state. If there's a bed, we have to put somebody there. And so it's a mix of Medi-Cal, Medicaid payment, and realignment dollars that will support this contract.
Thank you very much. Anything further? Okay. Any comments or questions from board members? So just a quick question, and I'll ask it on this one and not reiterate the same questions for the next few items. This is a reimbursable, possibly, it says on the memo, largely reimbursable through Medi-Cal. Is this parallel to some of the problems that we're having already with the reimbursement for Medi-Cal? Would this be a part of that or a different reimbursement? Because I know it's based on certain types of reimbursements.
On the North Valley contract, it will be, but not the other contracts. The hospitals themselves bill Medi-Cal. We don't bill them ourselves. The hospital does and they get reimbursed for those age groups, but the other ones we just pay out of pocket for.
So I would thank you for that. And I would also like to state that this, as well as all of the other items, were part of our projections of costs incurred through the end of the fiscal year. So we've baked that into the amount that we came and requested last week. So it isn't as if these are new things. These were all part of our projections and expenses that we knew that we had.
And I appreciate that, and that's the conversation I wanted to kind of bring up. And just kind of the history of it. Obviously, we've talked about how we already borrowed some reserves to help pay for some of the things that we're not getting reimbursed. We borrowed the money last week again to help again for the reimbursement rates that we're not receiving from the state of California. This kind of came as a surprise to me, but through an email communication, this is part of the projections that you provided. I wish it had been a part of the conversation just to alert us that these things would be coming, but it fits into what it was. But I know that I have been debating with myself whether or how I feel about this. I already debated with myself in the previous week. But I know that at this moment in time, I feel very concerned if we get another increase to our contracts. And I don't know how easy it is to control those things, because sometimes people could just walk into a door and say they're from Lake County and we have to reimburse. But how much can we continuously potentially borrow if the system is not fixing itself? And I know that we also did receive some funding last week that was not necessarily anticipated, so I'm hoping that we have unclogged the clogged pipe. But until we have reimbursed ourselves the money we've borrowed, and until we've reimbursed the reserves that we borrowed from, I just feel uncomfortable if there's future amendments that come that continuously increase the potential burden. And I'm sure that all of us are, not all of us, I'm sure that it's a uncomfortable position to be in, to not be in control of all that. But I just wanted to at least express it, and will support all these items today, just because I want to make sure we pay our bills and we try our best to provide the services that our community members need, as these are very important services. So.
Well, I don't think we are ever going to have control over this.
Well, to the extent that we have the ability to place people, which we do, most people we see, and through mobile crisis, of course, we're hoping to divert placements in acute psychiatric facilities. That's one of the main goals, and de-escalate people. However, it is unavoidable. So for those people, we can do our best to strategize around putting them in beds where it's covered and appropriate. But you're absolutely right that a Lake County Medi-Cal beneficiary could go into crisis in any county in California, and we would have to get the bill, and that does happen.
And when somebody is in the hospital, we put them into almost like a lottery system, computerized system that picks the bed and finds the next available bed for them. We kind of don't have, and the whole state of California is going with this program, so we kind of don't have a control on where our clients end up.
Yeah, and in one of the memos, you mentioned that you'll be coming back with a presentation to explain this in more detail.
Yeah, the increase in use.
Right, so we'll be hearing more about that soon. But at this point, we don't have a choice. This is what we have to do.
And I think what we heard is that there are times opportunities to look at other avenues or look at other opportunities. And so I just wanted to express that. But at this point, I'm done. Are there any other comments or questions regarding this item? Open it up for the public. Any questions or comments? Bringing it back.
Further, I move to approve the agreement between the County of Lake and BHC Sierra Vista Hospital, Inc. for acute inpatient psychiatric hospital services and professional services associated with acute inpatient psychiatric hospitalizations in the amount of $100,000 for fiscal year 2023-24 and authorize the board chair to sign.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Item 7.4, consideration of amendment number 2 to the agreement between County of Lake and North Valley Behavioral Health, LLC for acute inpatient psychiatric hospital services and professional services associated with acute inpatient psychiatric hospitalization in the amount of $750,000 for fiscal year 23-24. Director Jones.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. This is different from all the others in that it is fully Medi-Cal reimbursable. North Valley is a psychiatric health facility with a reimbursement rate. This is one that was not even in our electronic health record as a vendor. And so we've been working on getting them in the system so that we can effectively bill. So we will see monies back spent. And it's unfortunately increasing. We are seeing a dramatic increase in our various types of conservatorships, including Murphy's, and also folks who are have some challenges that make it difficult to find a facility that will accept them. And North Valley happens to be a facility that takes some very challenging folks, and it's expensive because of that.
Thank you for that. Any comments or questions? Open it up for the public. Any comments or questions regarding this amendment? And seeing none, bringing it back for action.
I move that we approve amendment number 2 to the agreement between the County of Lake and North Valley Behavioral Health, LLC for acute inpatient psychiatric hospital services and professional services associated with acute inpatient psychiatric hospitalization in the amount of $1,350,000 for fiscal year 23-24.
Supervisor Pyska, the motion may also add and authorize the board chair to sign.
And authorize the board chair to sign.
Second.
Just a quick question before I ask for a vote. I recognize that the $1,300,000 is the appropriate, but on the header it says $750,000. Is that okay to proceed with the correct number, which is the $1 million number?
Looking at the staff memorandum, the subject line makes reference to the $1,350,000 amount.
So it's just different on the main header?
And that should be sufficient for purposes of moving forward because the staff memo is included as part of the agenda item packet and the clarification is being made here.
Okay, perfect. We have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Moving on to item 7.5, consideration of amendment number 1 to the agreement between County of Lake and Sutter Center for Psychiatry for acute inpatient psychiatric hospital services and professional services associated with acute inpatient psychiatric hospitalizations in the amount of $225,000 for fiscal year 23-24. Director Jones.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. This is a mixed payer source, so this facility is Medi-Cal will pay for people who are 5 to 17, I believe. Folks outside of that age range do come out of realignment.
Thank you very much. Any comments or questions on this amendment? Seeing none, open it up for the public. Any comments or questions regarding this amendment? And seeing none, bringing it back to the board for action.
I move that we approve amendment number 1 to the agreement between the County of Lake and Sutter Center for Psychiatric for acute inpatient psychiatric hospital services and professional services associated with acute inpatient psychiatric hospitalizations in the amount of $225,000 for fiscal year 2023-24 and authorize the chair to sign.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. And 7.6, consideration of amendment number 1 to the agreement between the County of Lake and Vista Pacifica Enterprises Incorporated for adult residential support services and specialty mental health services in the amount of $300,000 for fiscal year 23-24. Director Jones.
Thank you. This is, I believe Vista Pacifica is a skilled nursing facility and also houses or will take some of our more complex people with medical needs. Very difficult to find placement for those folks, hence the expense. And are these, what portion of Medi-Cal or is this realignment, Chrissy? I cannot.
It's realignment.
It's realignment, so there's that.
And their Social Security pays their share.
Their room and board, yeah. So it's a mix between the client contributes their Social Security and then realignment.
Thank you very much. Any comments or questions regarding this amendment? Seeing none, open it up for public. Anyone wish to speak on this amendment? Come on up to the microphone.
Okay, I'm a citizen, Joan Moss. I also report things. So is this reimbursable?
Vista Pacifica in this item? No.
It's not reimbursable?
No, ma'am.
So you're going to pass it knowing that you won't get reimbursed?
Yes, ma'am.
And it was stated that we have realignment funds that comes from the state that helps to be able to afford these types of contracts. Please correct me if I'm wrong, but that was just stated earlier.
That's correct, Mr. Chair.
So while we aren't getting reimbursed, we're getting kind of paid up front to be able to provide those types of services.
And their share costs Social Security.
If you can speak into the microphone, please.
Oh, and their share costs of Social Security.
Okay, thank you very much. Any further questions or comments from the public?
I move that,
I'll bring it back.
sorry.
Please.
Did you bring it back?
Yes.
Okay. Mr. Chair, I move that we approve amendment number 1 to the agreement between the County of Lake and Vista Pacific Enterprises, Inc. for adult residential support services and specialty mental health services in the amount of $300,000 for fiscal year 2023-24 and authorize the board chair to sign.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. And last, nope, 2 more. Consideration of amendment number 1 to the agreement between County of Lake and California Psychiatric Transitions for acute inpatient psychiatric hospital services, inpatient competency, restoration services, and professional services associated with acute inpatient psychiatric hospitalization in the amount of $250,000 for fiscal year 23-24. Director Jones.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. This is also not reimbursable by Medi-Cal. This comes out of realignment. This is an alternative placement for people who have been determined incompetent to stay on trial. The other placement is the state hospital, which we also pay for out of realignment. But we're trying to divert as much as possible from state hospital beds because there's a years-long wait list. So we're lucky enough to have a contract with California Psychiatric Transitions. And as I stated before in another item, we are seeing an increase in this population, and that's across the state.
Thank you very much. Any comments or questions? Open it up for the public. Anyone wish to speak on this item? I see none in Zoom and none in the chamber, so I'll bring it back for action.
I move that we approve amendment number 1 to the agreement between the County of Lake and California Psychiatric Transitions for acute inpatient psychiatric hospital services, inpatient competency restoration services, and professional services associated with acute inpatient psychiatric hospitalization in the amount of $250,000 for fiscal year 23-24 and authorize the chair to sign.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Now the last item, 7.8, consideration of amendment number 1 to the agreement between County of Lake and Crisis Support Services of Alameda County for after-hours crisis support services in the amount of $89,400 for fiscal year 23-24 and authorize the chair to sign. Director Jones.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair. So this is a different type of service. This service answers our phones, our regular phone line, not our crisis phone line, from 5 p.m. to 8 a.m. They take a variety of different messages. It's less expensive to have this contracted out than to employ a staff overnight to answer these types of calls. However, moving into the next fiscal year, we will not be contracting with Alameda Night Watch because we are looking at a phone tree system where we can divert some to our mobile crisis team that does have dispatching capabilities, and so we can actually take these services in-house.
Awesome. Thank you very much for that. Any comments or questions regarding this item? Let's open it up for the public. Anyone wish to speak on this amendment? No hands in Zoom and no one in the chamber. Bringing it back for action.
I move that we approve Amendment Number 1 to the agreement between the County of Lake and Crisis Support Services of Alameda County for after-hours crisis support services in the amount of $89,400 for fiscal year 23-24 and authorize the chair to sign.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you both. And we still have a little time before our 1022. Let's go ahead and take up item 7.9, consideration of appointment to the General Plan Advisory Committee. We have one position that is vacant, and that's the tribal position. We have 3 applications, and open it up for discussion.
Yeah, I was looking at this and thinking about it all weekend. I know it's for one position. I look at who's applying, and I know that Irenia is from the north side of the lake. Larry is from the Middletown, which is the south portion of the lake. And so, I feel like, and then Kyle, he plays a big role in the community at large. If there was a way to, appoint all 3, I would really like to see that, if possible.
And I think that if we did that, we'd have to bring it back as a different item to change the composition of the, but I think that can be open for discussion today, looking at county council, if that's within the range of the discussion for today.
It can be as part of the discussion for today, but only with regards to who the board would want to appoint for that specific position. So as you stated, Mr. Chair, as far as changing the composition of the committee itself, that would have to be brought back as an item for a subsequent date.
Okay, so we can discuss to see if that's a direction to staff to bring it back. Okay.
I did also speak with Maria about some of this too, and I think she might have some options.
Director Turner?
If it is helpful, at your next board meeting, there will be an item for the board to consider establishing 8 local area plan advisory committees. So that would be one for each of our planning areas. I was recommending that there be no more than 9 members should the board want to create those, and one position on each of those was also reserved for tribal representation. So if the board does create those, I call them LAPACs, then we will have around the county spots for tribal representation.
Thank you very much, Director Turner.
So with that, real quick, Maria, sorry, I should have asked this. I should have caught you sooner. So if we were to move forward with one today, the other 2 could potentially be appointed in those spots for the areas?
That would be awesome, yeah. I'd love to see all 8 positions filled with tribal representatives.
And does it?
If the board creates that.
Okay, okay. And I'm prepared to go either way. It's up with the, with the board's.
Supervisor Pasca?
Yeah, just having the conversation yesterday about the creation of the area planning committees, I think it's good to have tribal representation there, but I think for our GPAC, I agree, and we had a conversation this morning because we were both thinking about it all weekend. These are all 3 people representing the different places that they represent will be really helpful. We run into this situation a lot where we have just one tribal seat and we have 7 tribal nations, and it's really difficult for us to choose one, or for one to speak for other regions or other areas or other nations. So I agree with this. I think we could open this up and have a richer representation at the GPAC.
Supervisor Green?
Yeah, generally in agreement with that. I need a reminder of what our current number is on the GPAC as a whole.
15.
I'm sorry.
15 positions, 14 filled currently.
If we were to add 3, it would be up to 18.
We're at add 2.
What, you said add 2?
Well, there's 3 applications, there's 1 seat open. We add 2 seats, then we
Gotcha,
can
add
have
2
all
more
3.
seats on top of that, okay.
So what would be the thinking? We would, if there's interest in expanding it to 17 and having 3 total tribal reps on GPAC, I'm certainly open for that, but we would have to give direction to staff to bring that item back rather than making an appointment today.
Right.
I think that's what we were just discussing.
And I think we can make an appointment just to fill the seat today and then open it up for more memberships if that's what we ask. That way, at least, there can be a call for a meeting if that's the case, and we can have all 15 members seated, and the following week possibly come back and expand the composition and add 2 more members.
But I
Are they
don't think
meeting
we
in the
have
near
a,
future?
I think we can just, I wouldn't mind waiting until next week and appoint all 3, but I don't know when then you have
There's
your
no
first
hurry.
meeting.
Our next GPAC meeting isn't until the fall.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah, I would think it'd be cleaner to bring it back. Thank you.
Supervisor Simon?
Obviously, appreciate the conversation, expanding that. Unless we're able to get 7, it's going to be that continual conversation. Each, independent tribal nation looks at it that way. I like what you said, EJ, about the overall, with Kyle Billy, kind of overall county issues. And then having the opportunity, I'm glad to hear about the local area, what'd you call it again?
Advisory committees?
Anyway, the Area Plan Advisory Committee. So I'm glad to hear that, given an opportunity, especially all the way around the lake, for some other tribal nation spots, obviously, and the rest of the community to be able to be appointed on those too. So I can go either way. Appreciate the conversation, but I think if we're going to really have it, then we got to talk about 7 seats, and 2 or 3, you're still going to have that same conversation. So, like I said, willing to have the conversation, but also ready to move forward, especially since there's going to be area plan committees that we could all work to appoint in our district. So those are my thoughts.
And so, and for me, if there is an opportunity that, because what I would ideally think too is that because the Irenia is from the north and a specific area, and Larry would be from a southern part too, they might fit into these advisory committees as well. And so if we were to, you said there's 9 or 8? 8. And so that covers a vast amount. So I think we can, like you said, when it comes back, we can determine that. But I mean, with that in place, that kind of covers the areas, if that makes sense. We don't really need to worry about opening it up. We can put 1 person today, and then when that comes, appoint a tribal representative from each region, because that would cover the 7 tribes or the areas with the tribal representative in each area. But again, I'm still open to.
But, so then would Kyle have greater representation with work with Konoktai?
Well, he covers he does a lot for the county in general as a whole.
Right.
Whereas I know Larry's the vice chair for Middletown, and then Irene is the secretary treasurer for Robinson. And so you have those specific areas of coverage right there. But again, I'm glad we're having the conversation. I'm just giving the insight as to what was brought forward today about the advisory committees that has a position for each tribal area.
Anything further? So I know that we already have a large membership for the GPAC, and I know that any meeting that we all go to, the larger the membership, the more difficult it becomes to ensure that we have quorum. This has been a conversation for even the cannabis ordinance, a conversation for the EMCC, so on and so forth. And so I would definitely like to hear the ideas behind the area plan committees, because I think that would be a perfect place to ensure that there is a cross-section of that area that is represented. I know Irenia, and I anticipated to see that she was from District 3, but it shows that she's from District 5, obviously works in District 3. I was not aware of that.
Irenia?
That's what it says on the application.
No, she's from District 3.
Oh, it does say Nice. I only looked at District 5. But I also, and maybe I'm being myopic, but in looking at the membership and where those people are from, there is only one representative from District 4, and Kyle Bill being in District 4, I think, and knowing the work that he does throughout the county, that would be where I'm leading towards, is keeping the membership as is, making sure that we have a good cross-section in our area plan, which is a more drilled down of the community area, and suggesting to move forward with Kyle Bill and opening that up for the conversation.
I agree with that.
I'm good either way. So, I mean, again, with the advisory committees coming out, that gives a specific position for each. So I'm pretty sure that the other two, Larry and Irenia, can apply in those areas, and we'll go from there when that comes forward.
Absolutely. Supervisor Green?
Yeah, and to your point, yeah, let's keep it lean. And we can always revisit it. If we do have trouble populating our area advisory committees, we'll worry about that at that point. But I like your proposal.
Okay. Let's go ahead and open up for public comment on this item. Oh, I'm so sorry. Supervisor Simon.
Yeah, just want to really acknowledge the conversation. I think this is the first time in the county's history we're having a conversation like this, so I want to acknowledge that, obviously, as we're taking steps forward. Also, just want to remind, everyone as representation too. I think this general plan update will be more participation from every government in the county, more than it's ever been. And I know there's an opportunity for the tribes to reach out directly to Director Turner for consultation on these general plan updates and the area plan updates. And I know most tribes are going to be doing that, but I want to acknowledge the conversation of the steps moving forward here in Lake County and its history. And as far as I know, this is probably the most important conversation we've ever had about a general plan, including every government in the county and every part, every culture and ethnic background. So it's a big step forward. So I just want to acknowledge that.
Thank you for your comment. Let's open it up for public comment regarding the appointment to the GPAC. I see none in the chamber and no hands in Zoom, and bringing it back to the board for action.
Further, I move to appoint Kyle Bill to the General Plan Advisory Committee.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. And we are at our 10:30 mark, and so we will take up our item 6.7, A, consideration of update on Armory repurposing project and provide direction to staff for next steps, and B, consideration of Amendment 2 to the agreement between the County of Lake and Dewberry Architects Incorporated for architectural engineering design services. And we have Under Sheriff Bingham and Director Ewing. Welcome.
I have to put my seat up when I'm next to you.
I have a couple phone books over here if you need help.
Well, good morning. Lars Ewing, Public Services Director, and as you mentioned, joined by, I almost said Captain, but Under Sheriff Bingham. Presentation today is about the Armory. The memo to the board that's included with the agenda packet has a very brief background discussion, and I won't go into that, other than in the last year. Really, the focus of this meeting is two things. One, a general update to present to the board, the status of the project, and then the second is B. Well, actually, that's A. The second is a consideration of moving ahead. So for some brief background, over the last year really is where the background will be, is what has happened since April of 2023 when your board approved an agreement with Dewberry Architects to start schematic design for the project. Since that time, they have completed schematic design. The schematic design package has probably 30 plus sheets, plus a lot of reference documents that go behind this. By no means am I going through all of that, but I picked a few images that I think would be helpful, and I will do my best to zoom in here, but if not, then I'll just pan down. So this isometric view just shows that they have done some work to plan out the armory. If you've been in the armory, you're familiar with this. This is the large bay, so the entrance is up here. And you can see what they've designed is a variety of offices, and we can go into. I wasn't planning on going into a level of detail, but what has occurred to get to this point is a lot of work from Dewberry to do space planning. They worked on that with Under Sheriff Bingham and his staff, along with Sheriff Howe, to identify what the needs are of his department. And not just the current needs, but the future needs, and that's probably the driving factor here. So after that work, Dewberry came up with a couple of concept options. Those options, there were two options prepared. We worked with Dewberry to come up with a kind of a hybrid of the two. And so the project actually consists of a single floor in the majority of the building, and then a mezzanine added to the bay, the mezzanine, basically a second story that would be for future use. It's not to be fully developed out in the project as it's scoped. So that project has gotten to the point where we are now. A few other images, floor plan. It's an eye chart, I understand, but the different colors reference different divisions, I guess you would say, of the sheriff's department. I'll leave it to Under Sheriff Bingham. In fact, I'll ask you if you could, maybe we can go around and talk about the different divisions here. So.
Yeah. So we, like Lars said, we worked with our staff and we talked to each of our staff and each division head as to what was necessary for them to have a consistency of operations in one location. Just kind of back up just a little bit. Might sound like a little bit like a sales pitch, but I'm sure the board is aware that we have outgrown our current facility. We've been in there almost 30 years. And we're just outgrown. We have boxes on top of boxes. We're out of room. So this started under Sheriff Martin, this project, this idea, and we've come to the time that we're at now. So working through all of our divisions, this allows us to get onto one campus. So our dispatch center, comm center, OES, corrections, and our main office are all in one location, which is going to help with ease of operations within the department. And then internally in the building, as Lars said, we've gone with a single floor, which will facilitate the sheriff's office today and in the next 5 to 10 years. And then we have that second story mezzanine, which is going to allow for a 30 to 40 year, 50 year building where we can eventually build into that second story for operations for the sheriff's office as it grows. And what you're looking at here is if you look at the pink top left there, that's our records division and our civil division, which is obviously will be accessible to the public in our main lobby, which is in green right below that. Then off of that, we have in red is our patrol division, which would our patrol sergeants, and then our workspace for our patrol deputies. And then in the blue would be command staff, so sheriff, under sheriff, captains, lieutenants, your management staff for the sheriff's office. Your purplish area there would be all of finance. They'd be all co-located in one area. And then you come down to the green, and that would be our main floor area for coroners division, detectives division. And then further down, that would be our evidence division, all internal in the same building. Evidence storage, processing, our laboratory work, fingerprints, and so on. And if you move to the left, right there, then that would be training area, a DTAC area, gym area. And then the far end of the blue, the yellow there would be a briefing room and then a break room for all the staff to be using. That's just, we could go into further detail if any of the board members in the future would like to. I'm more than happy to meet with you, go into further detail. That's just kind of a 10,000 foot view of the initial plan that we've worked out with Dewberry and we feel is going to work for us for the next 10 to 50 years for that building. And then of course the pink there, that's the second story mezzanine, which as it sits now, would be not built out. It would just be the structure for a second story, which could be utilized for training. It could be utilized for storage. It could be utilized for a lot of different things. But it's so that this is truly a 40 to 50-year building, so that when the department is obviously going to increase in size, as the county increases in size, we have room that we can then build into to expand that space, and we wouldn't be looking at having to switch buildings or build a new building in that time frame.
So with that upfront presentation, really, we're at the point with Dewberry Architects agreement. They're under contract for schematic design, which is preliminary design is a simple way to put that. The next steps would be to go through design development and then construction documents phase, and then we would be into construction. So we're to the point where we need to complete design, and it's an opportunity, number one, to update your board on where we are with the project, but number two, have a discussion about funding. If we are to proceed with design with any project, the memo used some terms about that we run the risk, or the project runs the risk of becoming obsolete. The point there is that if we design something with construction far out into the outer years, we run the risk of the designs becoming obsolete from a code perspective. Could even become obsolete from an operational perspective, though I don't anticipate that with this project because it has been designed with those outer years in mind. But in particular for code reasons. So, from 10 years ago, if we look at the code, there have been a variety of things that have changed, and so if a project sits on a shelf for 10 years, we have to refresh it, and there's a cost to doing that from a design side. When an architect or an engineer of record has to redesign, there's a cost to that. So to move ahead with design, I felt it was important to have a discussion with your board about construction funding. The memo talks about a couple of common options that are available to local agencies. Pay-as-you-go, which is funding that we have. We have other options of grants or state or federal funding. But the point that I'm bringing up here is that there's no funding that's specifically earmarked, allocated, appropriated for construction. We do have funding for design to complete the project through full design. And so that, while that's good, it's certainly important that we consider the construction funding. We did take this project, gave an update very similar to this to the Space Committee. That was not referenced in the memo, and I apologize for that. But the Space Committee did recommend coming to the board in this fashion with a recommendation to move ahead with design and directing staff to look at options for funding for construction. So that summarizes both the A and the B. Included with that agenda packet is the draft agreement, draft amendment, to Dewberry Architects' current agreement, so that we can proceed with design all the way up into construction. So that was prepared in consideration if the board were to approve moving forward. So happy to answer any questions, either myself on the kind of the design side, Under Sheriff Bingham for the operational, and certainly admin with Stephen Carter, who's been heavily involved with this on all aspects of it. So with that, I'll answer any questions.
Thank you very much for your presentation. Supervisor Pyska?
So moving ahead and pay as we go and trying to get through this next design phase, how much of that will draw down the ARPA funding?
Go ahead. Okay, the amendment is, I believe, and I have it here, it's about 1.3 million, I think, is the amendment. So combining that with the initial contract of 400,000 or so, would be about 1.7 out of ARPA. There are some other options if we were to progress with design, bringing on a construction management firm. If we anticipate going to construction in the near future, there's a big benefit in a project like this to bring on a construction management firm at the early stages of design, so there could be some cost there as well. I don't have any cost estimates for that, though I typically for a construction management firm, we'd be looking at somewhere in the 10% range. So for a $20 million cost estimate, which is what we have for for an estimate of probable construction costs. Just doing some quick math, we're looking at about $2 million for that. So hopefully that helps.
So was it 4 million that we have for our 3?
3 million.
Okay, because we've got to draw that down and encumber it by December, so that's 9 months.
Sure.
So,
Yep. And that was one of the thoughts with the construction management funding.
okay.
Any other questions?
I'd like to hear.
No, I'm here to answer any questions, basically, since that's.
Supervisor Simon?
Yep, just wanted to acknowledge that we did have a presentation at the Space Committee, and obviously, I can't speak for all Space Committee members, but obviously was in complete support of moving forward with the design project. Also brought up in that time and Lars hit on it, kind of pay as you go. I think this is a unique opportunity for the county to look at financing a overall project here. I don't think we've ever done that as a county for something like this, whether it's GSFA. I know that we had a presentation here for large infrastructure projects. I think it would be a unique opportunity to look at this. The Armory not only represents moving forward in the county doing a big project, but it also will open up other space throughout the county as the courthouse is being built also. I just think it's a unique opportunity to really take some steps forward for Lake County and look at that financing stuff. So I did bring that up at the committee. Don't know how it gets done, but I would really like to see if there's a project that we could focus on to get the thing done. I know that brings in long-term debt, but also gives you an opportunity to take that first in that direction for large projects instead of having to wait, ask for grant funds, find, different areas. And so I just wanted to make that comment. But in complete support of moving forward with the design phase stuff today and looking to really get the financing for this.
Thank you. Supervisor Green?
Yeah, obviously supportive of this moving forward, but I share my colleagues' comments here. It's more of a question, and we can talk about it later, but if debt financing was a third rail to prior boards for whatever reason, I'd invite a fresh examination with this board. I don't see how we can punch this through without a very sober consideration of debt financing. So let's go ahead and get the design tidied up. But I think there is a larger question that you raise adequately in the memo. And just like Supervisor Simon, I'm very open to all alternatives that would move this project forward.
Thank you.
Can I say, okay.
Please.
So we do plan on, and I've already talked to Patrick, so it's no surprise. We do plan on talking to the Patrick and Genevieve related to debt servicing on what the possibilities are, and if we have an appetite for it. We do already have around $6 million budgeted, so it's not like we're coming from it from scratch. We would have to look into it a lot before June, and September's the real budget where we would know for sure whether we need debt financing or another method like pay-as-you-go. But there are options to make it work. It just may have to be phased instead of all at once. And that's what we'll work through and come back to you guys with our final recommendation.
Okay. Thank you very much. I think we need to follow through and finish the design. This was something that we wanted to, there's so many reasons to have it. The efficiency of all of those divisions all in one area. We've dealt with fires where there was that separation. We don't want that separation. And there's a reason why we requested the building, and we need to follow through with that. What I'm hoping for is that as we finish the design, we can maybe have phases of which are the priority things that can be built to try and decrease the cost of the first time. And it's not just the second phase is the mezzanine. The second phase is maybe something else also that's not a priority within the building. I don't know what that might be, but that would be great to see multiple phases, maybe even more than 2. One of my concerns overall, and that I'm hoping is part of the overall design, I just haven't asked and I haven't seen it, is the energy required for that building is going to be pretty large, substantial, and I'm really hoping that we are putting in the resources to have the solar panels, the battery backup, and all that other stuff that can ensure to reduce the long-term cost, not just the upfront cost of making that building be operational. But I think we have to follow through and continue. And the $6 million that you mentioned, that's inclusive of all the congressional community project funding that we've received as well?
No, because that's for the EOC only.
The EOC only, but that's
Not in this
Yeah,
building.
no, it's a separate building. Okay. Tough to talk about where we can find the resources in the status of where our state finds itself. I'm not sure that I'm a fan of debt service in a potentially downhill economic turn for the state, because you never know how that will impact the overall funding available for the counties, especially ourselves. But I think anything should be open and available to us and put on the table for us to make the decision of what the best way is to move forward, but we can't move forward without finishing that design first and foremost. So happy to move forward with that today. Anything further before I open up for public comment? Anything further from the presenters or Mr. Carter? All right, open it up for public comment on this item. Anyone wish to speak on this item, please come up to the microphone.
Joan Moss. What I want to know is what has been publicly said. I heard a new courthouse being built. I want to know what is public record about the new courthouse. I know it's in Shonda Harry's campaign literature. What has been said in public about the new courthouse that is being built, and where are the funds coming from?
So that is a vastly different item. It is not related.
It was mentioned in this item, and that's why I'm asking.
I don't remember it being mentioned in this item.
It was mentioned.
So, Joan, the courthouse is a state project, not a county project, and this is absolutely 100% a county project for the sheriff's department and has nothing to do with the courts. So two separate items at this moment.
I'll just acknowledge I did say courthouse is being built. I did say, because I was thinking the domino effect, so. Yep.
Thank you for the clarification. Any further public comment on this item? All right, bringing it back to the board.
We just have one motion to approve amendment to the agreement between the County of Lake and Dewberry Architects, Inc. for architectural engineering design services for a revised amount of $1,324,455.00 and authorize the chair to sign.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries.
All right, thank you.
Thank you. We have Mr. Sullivan here, so let's go ahead and take up item 7.10. And Ms. Martinez? Consideration of the distribution of excess proceeds in the amount of $1,346,589.30 from tax defaulted tax sale number 160, held May 27, 2022, per R&T Code 4675. Mr. Sullivan.
Good morning, Board. Thank you for the opportunity to present this today. I'm going to turn this presentation over to Assistant Treasurer Tax Collector Liz Martinez. She managed these claims and prepared this report.
Good morning, Board. So we're coming to the Board today we have reviewed these claims that were submitted for tax sale 160. So we're just here to get your approval to distribute these funds. So $880,000 are actual claims that will be going out to people who have a legal interest in these properties that were sold. The remaining amount will actually be transferred to the general fund as unclaimed excess proceeds.
And just, I know it's on the paperwork and the documents, but the remaining amount is?
It's approximately $500,000.
Thank you very much. Any comments or questions regarding this?
Yes.
Vice Chair?
Yes, just a question about excess proceeds. I think you all have been approached by some HOAs or POAs in this manner. I just wanted to see if there's a way, if there's something that we need to identify that these agencies do moving forward to get the amount that they're asking for, or if you have any comment on some of that dialogue that's taken place.
So some of the issues that maybe have come up with HOAs and private agencies is that they're not filing liens. So in order for these excess proceeds to be claimed, they have to have a lien recorded prior to the sale of the properties.
So they need to have a lien filed with the county?
Correct. It
Okay.
has to be recorded with the county recorder's office.
So if they file their lien internally or something, you're not, the county doesn't recognize that. So maybe that's what happened in these other situations, or?
Yeah.
I'm sorry, I don't know if there's a specific one.
I think it's Double Eagle as one of them, a Double Eagle.
Oh, correct. Yeah, so there was no lien recorded for that.
Okay.
And I did talk to them about that. So I did explain to them the process going forward, what they would need to do in order to file those claims, to be able to be eligible to file.
And I would say that's a continual issue, a continuing issue with a lot of these claims, is that there are people who believe there's money owed to them, but prior to the tax sale, they have not gone to court and been awarded a judgment, or they haven't recorded any kind of formal lien. So they have evidence, perhaps, that they believe someone owes them the money and that they seek to claim it from that property, but they've never taken those additional steps. And I think sometimes people think what they've done is enough, but it isn't. And where we can, we've definitely tried to let people know what we're looking for so that in the future they can fix it. And the HOAs, I have done some additional outreach with Hidden Valley, for instance, just to help clarify some things.
Thank you for doing that. I think the continued, just education and dialogue will help. And if I'll come touch base with you, because I have quite a bit in mind. I think we all have HOAs and POAs. We can probably do some of these at the advisory committees or whatever, things like that, so we can ensure they know what to do before they come forward, and not miss out on this money, because I know they all have these issues in their POAs where they're not able to collect. So.
Yeah, and one of the things to clarify, so we have to hold these excess proceeds for a year, and then we review the claims. So what's unfortunate about that is, at that time when we know that there's nothing recorded, they can't then go to the recorder's office and record because it's already been after the sale.
Okay.
Any other comments or questions? I do think that there are some other situations that make it even more, that can make it difficult to understand the process, especially when you have a reduced amount because it's the second time that you're putting the property on the tax sale, where you're not putting all of the liens or all of the direct charges or all of the back taxes and fees and so on and so forth. That reduction, I think there, please correct me, there's an order of who gets to get claims first, and there's an order of who is going to receive, and then there's what's left over. Can you please?
So there's a priority. So whoever records basically the lien first gets first priority, and then if there's anything left over, we go to the next person and so on. Then it could be the previous owner if there's anything left.
And so when we reduce on the second time around of going on a tax auction, it may eliminate some folks at the bottom of the list, because those at the top who claim first might only get what was available.
Well, typically with the deficit sale, you're not going to have excess proceeds.
Or you may not have anything to claim.
Exactly. So that's usually not an issue with regards to that. There's usually not. So it has to be more than $150. And if it's a deficit sale, you're not going to have excess proceeds to distribute.
Yeah, there's definitely, and I agree with my colleague, the education of it. There's so many different scenarios. What I do want to share is the appreciation of your timeline. And this is a tax sale that occurred in 2022. The last date of the final claim was August 30th, 2023. And for us to have this in front of us, appreciate your timelines and keeping it as quickly as possible so that we can get these funds put into the general fund and into the hands of those that have interest in the properties. That is absolutely appreciated, so thank you. Any further comments or questions? I'm going to open it up for the public comment. And I have an individual named One. You can please provide your name, and you have 3 minutes.
Can you hear me?
We can hear you.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Chair. My name is Angela Amaral. I'm calling from Double Eagle Ranch. And yes, so Double Eagle Ranch feels that we did our due diligence before the tax auction in 2022. We verified that we had a lien prior to the tax auction. We checked with the tax collector. And the issue is that for us, a lien was filed in 2013. Now, these are for annual dues. So they accrue every year. So we went and verified with the tax collector's office if we needed to file a new lien. We were told that we didn't, that at the end of the tax auction, we would just file a claim for excess proceeds, which we did. Now, the other concern is that liens on tax defaulted properties, when they go up for auction, the opening bid amount is just what's owed to the county, which I understand. But it blocks people that have liens from being able to be included in that. Now, when a property sells at an auction, all the liens get wiped from the property, and we lose out on being able to collect those once it goes through the auction process. So if we can get some clarification on how we can avoid this in the future. From what I'm understanding at this point, it has to be a current lien at the time of the auction. Is that correct? If you can clarify that. And then also, yeah, I guess that would be it. If we can just get some clarification on what we need to do to make sure that this does not happen again, because we're losing almost $4,000 in this tax auction because of this. So thank you.
Thank you for your comment. Mr. Sullivan or Ms. Martinez, if you want to respond.
Yeah, I think an important point to highlight is that the tax sale, the auction process is typically the sale of last resort. It's likely the process everyone should seek to avoid when doing this. If a private party sale can occur, that's often preferable. The tax sale has different considerations. Even the deed that's produced at the end is often, that tax deed represents a problem for future financing. A lot of lenders won't work with them. So one thought is that often interested parties seek other outcomes before the sale occurs. HOAs have the ability to do foreclosures on their own and go after those proceeds before it gets to us. They could foreclose on the property rather than it going to the tax sale. Just traditionally, tax sales often produce the lowest amount of proceeds. It's a deeply discounted price. It's cash offers with that potential cloud over the title. So typically, this is the type of sale that is going to produce the lowest amount of revenue. So if someone has liens on a property and really wants to protect them, I would often advise not to let it get to the tax sale. They may want to take action beforehand. The other issue I'd say is many of the properties we have, especially in outlying areas, there can be liens from HOAs on it. There can be code enforcement fines. Often the number of liens and the amount of money at stake there is already more than the value of property, even in a standard foreclosure or even in an arm's length transaction for a sale. So I think it's just once this debt piles up, the odds of everyone getting their money are just a lot lower. And I don't know if Ms. Martinez, do you have anything to add?
No.
Okay.
That's good.
Thank you for that. I see no other hands up. Did you?
No,
I see no further hands up. Nobody in the chamber coming up to the microphone, so I'm going to close public comment. Any comments or questions from board members? And if we're ready, take action.
I'll move to approve the distribution of excess proceeds in the amount of $1,346,589.30 from tax defaulted tax sale number 160 held May 27, 2022 per Revenue and Tax Code 4675.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor? Aye.
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 Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Let's go ahead and take up item 7.2. Consideration of letter of support for congressionally directed spending request for Adventist Health. And Supervisor Pyska, would you like to speak on that one and introduce it?
We were contacted by Adventist for this letter of support for the purchasing and operating of a mobile health unit for Lake County. And so this is one of the congressionally directed spending requests that goes to the Senate. Usually we have these requests go through our go through Congressman Thompson, so this is a little bit of a different request, but this is definitely going to be something that's going to benefit our county. So I think offering this letter of support will help move that along forward.
Thank you very much. Are there any comments or questions regarding this letter? Supervisor Green.
Yeah, thank you. I'm generally supportive, but nothing presented here that gives me even an outline of what their proposal is. So I see referenced in the staff report they plan to apply for funding for a mobile health care unit, but that's about what I got. So I was wondering if anybody could flesh out some of the details of that grant request.
So the details of what's in the mobile unit, I do not have those details, other that this is to provide services that are necessary in rural, hard-to-reach areas. This is a multi-county request by Adventist Health to cover 3 counties. I believe it's Colusa, Tehama, and here. Am I correct? I apologize that I don't remember the 3 original. It's on the... it was in our request, but it will have Lake involved in that. And again, this is a senatorial request, and typically senatorial requests are regional rather than specific to a county in order to get those approvals through at the federal level. But again, this is to provide a mobile unit to provide health care to hard-to-reach areas, or maybe those that are bedbound in areas that, again, cannot access the healthcare facilities that are available to the rest of us. And so this would be an added bonus and benefit to what healthcare provision is already available.
And while I appreciate the verbal summation of what the grant request is, I don't see the grant request in front of me, so my vote will reflect that.
All right. Thank you for your comments. Anything further from board members? Let's open it up for public comment. Any public comment? I see none in the room and none in Zoom. Bringing it back for board action.
I move that we approve the letter of support for congressionally directed spending request for Adventist Health.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed?
No.
Motion carries. Okay, our next item is at 11:15. Let's go ahead and take a 7-minute break, and we will reconvene at 11:15 with Water Resources. All right, let's go ahead and continue from where we left off. We are on our timed item, 11:15 a.m., 6.8. Hearing on account and proposed assessment for 7129 East State Highway 20, Lucerne, California, APN 006023-02. And we have our Water Resources Coordinator, Mitchell?
Yes.
Mitchell. Please.
All right. Good morning, board. My name is Mitchell Breedlove. I'm a Water Resources Program Coordinator with the County of Lake. I'm responsible for lake bay management within the department. Today we are here for a hearing on account.
If you can get a little closer to the microphone, you can just move it right to you.
And Mr. Chair, since this is a public hearing, typically at the onset, if representatives from Water Resources would...
Thank you for the reminder.
It would be swearing in under oath for any witnesses from either side may be available.
If there are any, if there's anyone that wishes to speak on this item and provide testimony that's on Zoom, please raise your hand so we can go ahead and unmute you. Okay, so it would just be our staff member.
Your right hand raised. Do you solemnly swear that the testimony you're about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Good morning, board. My name is Mitchell Breedlove. I'm a Lake County Water Resources Program Coordinator. Within the department, I'm responsible for lake bay management. Today we are here for a hearing on account and proposed assessment. Upon completion of an abatement which happened on the subject property 7129 East State Highway 20, Lucerne, California, 95458, we are required to give an account and proposed assessment for the work that had been conducted, and if approved by the board, will be recorded as a lien against the property. So on this slide, we have a vicinity map. The owner on title is Edward Chernow. The property location is 7129 East State Highway 20, Lucerne, California, 95458. That is a APN of 006-023-02. The zoning for this property is an R1, single-family residential, and it is an improved parcel with a dwelling and lake bed structure. On January 21st, 2021, the property was found to be in violation of the Lake County Code and lake bed encroachment lease. The lake bed improvement was in a dilapidated state consisting of broken or missing planks, pilings, scattered debris. Pieces of the lake bed structure were actively falling into the lake. These issues violated both the Lake County Code, Chapter 23, Shoreline Ordinance, Section 13.2, Maintenance, Repair, and Removal of Improvements. These issues also violated the lake bed encroachment lease, Section 13, Maintenance and Repair, signed by the owner for encroachment upon the public trust lands of Clear Lake. A violation letter was sent to the property owner via certified mail on May 18th, 2021, to notify the owner of the existing issues and giving them time to remedy those issues. By September 28th, 2021, no progress had been made to come into compliance, and as such, a notice of nuisance in order to abate was posted on the property and sent to the owner via certified mail on November 16th, 2022. We'll move on to the next slide. On this slide, we have our initial investigation, which happened on January 21st, 2021, between the hours of 8:30 and 10:30 a.m. Above are the photos taken on the site during the initial investigation. As you can see, the structure was falling into the lake. There are a number of piles that were broken or missing, and there was no way to safely access this structure. As a result, it was posing a safety, water quality, and potential navigational hazard. I would like to note that Clear Lake provides drinking water to 60% of the residents of Lake County. It provides endless recreational opportunities to its visitors, residents, and it harbors our listed threatened species of fish, the Clear Lake hitch, and is culturally significant to our indigenous communities. We did try to contact the owner on record, Edward Chernow, multiple times and received no reply or further contact over the 2-year period from the initial violation letter in May 2021 till the abatement was conducted in May of 2023. Upon the findings from the initial investigation, a determination was made to move forward with the abatement due to the issues persisting on the property and the owner not being able to or willing to contact our department in regards to the issues. We requested an inspection and abatement warrant that was issued by the County Lake Superior Court Judge to allow our Class A marine contractors, which is Lake Marine, to be on site and abate the issues. I'd like to note that notice of this assessment for this hearing was mailed via certified mail on March 6, 2024, and we had no response. Next slide. On this slide, you can see the abatement, and it started on June 8th, 2023. You can see our contractor, Lake Marine Construction, working to abate the issue and remove the remaining structure, which has fallen into the lake, and cutting out the remaining pilings. On this slide, we have the abatement completed on June 26, 2023, and we have on the left a before photo, and on the right we have an after photo. And this is taken in the northern direction. I would like to end the presentation for this with a recommendation to our board that on June 26, 2023, compliance with the notice of nuisance in order to abate issue was attained. The abatement costs for this were $24,900.00, and the administrative cost was $1,928.90. The staff is recommending the Board of Supervisors confirm the assessment of a total of $26,828.90 and direct staff to record a notice of lien against the property. After recordation, it shall be delivered to the county auditor, who shall enter the amount of the lien on the assessment roll as a special assessment. Thank you very much.
Thank you for your presentation. Any comments or questions regarding this item?
Yeah, I have a question, and sorry I didn't ask earlier. But I mean, this obviously great work getting the shoreline cleanup and these dilapidated structures. But were they paying their lake bed leases as well?
I believe I would have to get back to you on that. I believe they were not in compliance with paying the lease.
Probably not. Okay, thanks.
I would like to note that this property has been in default on their taxes since I believe this one was 2019. I have two different ones. There's one in 2023 and one in 2019 that they've been in default.
Okay, thanks.
Thank you. If nothing further, let's go ahead and open it up for public comment. Anyone wish to speak on this item? I see no hands in Zoom and no one coming to the mic, so I'm going to bring it back to the board for action.
Mr. Chair, sorry. I move to confirm the assessment of $26,828.90 and direct staff to record a notice of special assessment lien against the property. The cost of abatement services was $24,900. The administrative costs for this case are $1,928.90.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Let's go ahead and move on to the next item, our 11:30, just in time. 6.9, hearing on account and proposed assessment for 7119 East State Highway 20, Lucerne, California, APN 006-023-01. Mr. Breedlove.
All right. Do I need to be sworn in again?
It's a whole different situation.
Yeah, it's same owner, separate parcel.
Yeah. And again, if anybody here wishes to provide testimony that is on Zoom or in this chamber, please raise your hand. We will unmute you so that we can get your oath.
All right. Do you solemnly swear that the testimony you're about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Thanks.
Thank you.
All right. Good morning again. This one should go fairly quickly. It's basically the same thing. This property was adjacent to the previous item. Again, my name is Mitchell Breedlove. I'm a Water Resources Program Coordinator with the County of Lake, and I'm responsible for lake bed management. This hearing on account and proposed assessment is for a property subject of 7119 East State Highway 20, Lucerne, California, 95458. And attached here in our presentation is the vicinity map, and the owner on title was Edward Chernow. Property location was 7119 East State Highway 20, Lucerne, California, 95458, an APN of 006-023-01. The zoning for this property was an R1 single-family residential, and it was with a improved parcel with a dwelling and lake bed structure. Again, on January 21st, 2021, the property was found to be in violation of the Lake County Code and lake bed encroachment lease. The lake bed improvement was in a dilapidated state, consisting of broken or missing planks, pilings, and scattered debris. Pieces of the lake bed structure were actively falling as well into the lake. These issues violated our Lake County Code Chapter 23 Shoreline Ordinance, Section 13.2, Maintenance, Repair, and Removal of Improvements, as well as our lake bed encroachment lease, Section 13, Maintenance and Repair. A violation letter was sent to the property owner via certified mail on May 18th, 2021, to notify the owner of the existing issues and give them time to remedy those issues. By September 28th, 2021, no progress had been made to come into compliance, and as such, a notice of nuisance in order to abate was posted on the property and sent to the owner via certified mail on November 16th, 2022. This slide is our initial investigation, which happened on January 21st, 2021, 8:30 to 10:30 a.m. Above are photos that were taken on that day during the initial investigation. As you can see, the structure was falling into the lake, and it was also not able to access safely. We did try to contact the owner, as well as in the previous one, to record multiple times. We received no reply or further contact over the 2 years leading from the initial violation letter, which was sent in May of 2021, until the abatement was conducted in May of 2023. Upon determination, it was made to move forward with the abatement due to the issues persisting on the property and the owner not being able to or willing to remedy the issues. We requested an inspection and abatement warrant that was issued by the County of Lake Superior Court Judge to allow our Class A marine contractors to be on site and abate the issues. As well as the previous one, this notice of assessment for hearing was mailed and certified on March 6, 2024, and there was no response. On this slide, you can see the abatement work happening. This was conducted as well on June 8, 2023. Lake Marine Construction, who we are in contract with, worked to abate the issue and remove any of the remaining structure that was falling into the lake and otherwise serving a navigational hazard. On this slide, you can see our completed abatement, which was on June 26, 2023. On the left, you can see the before, and on the right, you can see the after. This photo is also taken in the northern direction. I would like to end this presentation with our recommendation. On June 26, 2023, compliance with the notice of nuisance in order to abate issued was attained. The abatement costs were $23,500.00. The administrative cost was $1,928.85. Staff is recommending the Board of Supervisors confirm the assessment of $25,428.85 and direct staff to record a notice of lien against the property. Thank you very much.
Thank you for your presentation. Vice Chair Crandall.
Oh, no, that's from last night. I'll be ready to take action when we get public input.
Any other comments or questions? So I do have one question and a comment. First off, kudos to Lake Marine Construction for actually lifting up those two buildings without them crumbling. That's not what I would have expected from the before pictures. But the second one, we just had a presentation from our tax collector and kind of specifying what happens to liens, especially tax defaulted, and the priority list of who's there. Do you know if we have access or if we need to look at getting access to tax intercept capabilities to go after property owners rather than potentially doing a tax default sale and losing out on these funds that we used, public funds, for a private property to be cleaned up? Do we have access to tax intercept?
I don't have that answer for you at this time, but I can come back to you with that answer.
Okay.
I'm not sure if we do have the authority to do that.
I know that we started it with code enforcement. I don't know if it would apply to water resources, but any way that we can collect the funds, I think that would benefit us to be able to have that revolving door of funds, but appreciate the cleanup. It's always a good thing to see. Anything further? Let's go ahead and open up for the public. Any public comment on this item? I see no hands in Zoom and no one getting up in the chamber, bringing it back to the board for action.
Mr. Chair, I move to confirm the assessment of $25,428.85 and direct staff to record a notice of special assessment lien against the property. Cost of abatement service was $23,500. The administrative cost for this case amounted to $1,928.85.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you very
you
much
all.
for your presentations.
I don't think that one will have I don't think it'll have a problem selling on tax default, though. Shoreline.
All right. So we only have our calendars left and a couple timed items in the afternoon. Let's go ahead and do the calendars, and then we're going to take up two of our items in closed session, and then take a lunch break and come back at 1:30. So let's go ahead and start with our calendars. Who's ready?
I'm ready.
Let's go.
Starting with just finishing up today, but yesterday I had a unique meeting. There's a piece of property downtown, Middletown. I appreciated Ben Rickleman showing up, met with Sutter, who owns the property, talk about just get the conversation started on what's going on there. So I thought it was a great meeting. I know there's a lot of follow-up needs to happen very early in the conversations, but it is a prime piece of Middletown property right there. It's been undeveloped for probably 20 years, at least 18, something like that, right in town where the old, right across from the liquor store, in between Biasotti's, that open lot right there. So excited to have that conversation and see what could come out of it. So finish up today. Won't have anything on the agenda until Friday, at least that I see. And then obviously this weekend is Easter, so gonna enjoy that with the family and then be back here on Tuesday. Don't see anything, but, all right, that's all I got.
Thank you very much. Supervisor Green?
Thanks. This past Saturday at Lakeport Senior Center, Lake County Literacy Coalition hosted a very successful fundraiser event. Power bingo for everybody. I was lucky enough to purchase a $100 hot dog, and it was great. And it was great to see people coming out and really coming together to support a good cause, and looking forward to seeing that again next year. Last night, I met with Scotts Valley Community Advisory Council, got a good presentation from Terry Logsdon. They're excited about coming to the Board of Supervisors chambers next month for the Lakeport Area Plan kickoff meeting. Tomorrow, have a meeting with a constituent. In the morning, have the shelter update Zoom. Looks like first 5 commission in the afternoon. Thursday, Chair Sabatier and I will be doing a little cleanup activity at the shelter or in the immediate vicinity, and I think the neighbors would be excited about that. And for whatever reason, my calendar looks pretty open after that.
Thank you very much. Supervisor Pyska?
Yes, tomorrow I am double booked at 10, but it looks like I'll be doing the Ag Advisory Committee meeting. And then I have a long afternoon with the NCO board meeting. And Thursday, I'll be on the Little Hoover Commission for the homeowners insurance market. I have the meet and greet with the health director, which I had to reschedule from last week. And then we have the recreation agency in the afternoon. And Friday, we have an internal meeting in the morning, and then I've got my appointment with Sutter. And then on Monday, I have my meeting with CAO Parker, and then the KBA is having their spring mixer that evening, and then back on Tuesday.
Thank you very much. Vice Chair Crandall?
So tomorrow's agenda review, Ag Advisory Committee meeting, then Thursday, LCRA. Let's see, Friday, I have some discussions and meetings at the office here with staff. Let's see, Saturday, of course, Easter egg hunts in the community, so I'll just go to those. Hopefully they don't make me dress up as the bunny. Let's see.
Pictures or it didn't happen?
Yeah. I always seem to dodge Santa Claus during Christmas, so let's see, Monday, CIO meeting, and then the Middle Creek Restoration meeting, and back here Tuesday.
All right, thank you very much. At the end of today, I'm going to be joining the Sierra Club and presenting what we're working on the Food Policy Council. Tomorrow morning, agenda review, Lakeport Shelter update. Then I'll be joining the Fire Chiefs meeting that'll be taking place over in Clear Lake at Station 70. There's a First 5 Lake Commission meeting as well. I'll be attending that. Will you be attending that, Supervisor Green?
I'm sorry?
The First 5 on Wednesday? I missed that during your... Okay. Then I'll join in through Zoom. Then I have a meeting with Sutter as well to discuss the CHNA. The following morning, hopefully can make it to Judge's Breakfast. If not, I have a Hope Rising meeting. And then, as Supervisor Green mentioned, hoping to beat the rain and get out there and help clean up the neighboring areas to the shelter. Try to make it a little bit cleaner out there. Involved with some discussions with staff on Friday, and the also meeting to discuss roadmap task force with Vice Chair Crandall. And then continuing the discussions that was directed by us for the city, special districts, and the developer. we did meet on last Friday and just continuing those discussions and seeing what's possible. I do know that I was invited for the Poet Laureate event that's happening this Saturday, but I have a family thing that I need to make sure and attend. But that will be happening, I think, at the Ripe Choice Farm. I was hoping to really get there, and if there's somebody that's able to go there, that's when the new Poet Laureate of this year will be crowned, I guess. Then Middle Creek has stated on Monday, and meeting with the CAO, and back here on Tuesday, and that closes up our calendars. And so we do have 5 items on our closed session. Item 8.3, we will not be taking up that item today. In this next upcoming closed session that we are going to immediately go into, we are going to take up items 8.4 and 8.5, and that will be conference with legal counsel, existing litigation pursuant to Government Code Section 54956.9D1, CPUC application 2209018, application of Pacific Gas and Electric Company and Pacific Generation LLC, U39E. And 8.5 is conference with legal counsel, existing litigation pursuant to Government Code Section 54956.9D1, CPUC application 2106021, application of Pacific Gas and Electric Company, U39M. And so we will go ahead and close our open session for now, go into closed session for those 2 items, and we will return to open session at 1:30 p.m. Thank you, everyone. And we are back. All right, thank you for joining us again. We had 2 items from closed session, and checking in with Vice Chair Crandall, was any action taken from closed session?
No action taken.
All right, thank you very much. Oh, I'm just talking and there's no microphone. Let me start all over. Welcome back. We had 2 items from closed session. Vice Chair Crandall, was there any action taken from closed session?
No action taken.
All right, that felt very much like a deja vu. Item 6.10 or 1:30 p.m. item, presentation and update on the current status of the hydrilla eradication program activities for the Clear Lake area. And we have David Kratville and Mike Metzke who would like to speak to us.
Thank you.
Thank you
for the opportunity. Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Usually not a problem with my voice, but thank you again. I'm David Kratville. I'm an environmental program manager with the California Department of Food and Agriculture. Formerly was the supervisor overseeing the hydrilla eradication program. Hydrilla eradication program is a statewide project. The department gets roughly $2.3 million a year to conduct survey and eradication efforts for Hydrilla verticillata is the actual plant, which occurs here in Clear Lake. It is one of the few plants in the state named in the Food and Agriculture Code by name. The department is mandated to attempt to eradicate wherever it's feasible. And so the plant was found here. I guess I should back up. I've given a presentation to the Board of Supervisors, but I think all of the faces have changed since that time. So we have a number of changes happening this year, and we just wanted to take the opportunity to reach out to you and hopefully answer any questions in case the public comes to you all with questions about what we're doing out there this year. But as I was saying, so CDFA, we are mandated by Food and Ag Code Section 6048 to attempt eradication wherever feasible within the state. Clear Lake is the largest current infestation in the state. Hydrilla was found here in 1994, the year I graduated high school, and this weekend I just bought my tickets to my 30-year reunion. So that tells you how long Hydrilla's been here in this lake. And we've been working here in this lake ever since then. We do conduct statewide or lake-wide surveys. Typically in April is about when we normally start. You'll see that our airboats out there, our airboats are specifically marked with the CDFA logo on them. I understand there's a number of other pest control businesses that have airboats, but we went ahead and designated ours so that put the stickers on them so that we could identify ourselves. At any rate, we do conduct surveys most of the time on the lake when the boats are out there Mike Meske, who's the supervisor of the crew here. He's been with us since he's moved up here in 2013 and has ran the crew ever since then. Most of the time when the crews are out on the lake, they are conducting surveys, and you will see them throwing grappling hooks. We didn't bring one with us today. It's a small metal hook on the end of a rope, and we throw that into the water and drag it. Roughly every minute we pull it up and identify any aquatic plants that are on there. Hydrilla is a plant that roots in the sediment. It's attached to the bottom. As I'm sure all of you know, Clear Lake can be kind of hard to see through at times. It can get pretty turbid. So we utilize those grappling hooks to reach down into thick weed beds or deep down. And then the crews, there's one driver and two crew members typically throwing the hooks and doing visual surveys. So the majority of the time that our crews are out on the lake, they are doing surveys. Roughly 5 to 6 times a year, we will do herbicide applications. In recent years, our herbicide applications typically take 2 days. Sometimes we wrap them up in 1 day. Weather permitting, we might have to extend that to an additional day or follow up the following week. But the majority of the time that our staff are out there, they are doing surveys. So this year, for the first year since about 2007, we intend to do no treatments in Clear Lake for hydrilla. We have a protocol, the previous protocol. So in 2002, we were treating over 1,400 acres in the lake. In 2003, we found 0 plants, and at that time, our protocol was to go 3 years after the last plant find, we would pull areas out of treatment. Unfortunately, that taught us a lesson because in 2008, after several years of no treatments in the lake, we had the highest number of plant finds we've ever had in the lake. At that time, we extended our protocol to 7 years of treatment. So I should give you a little bit of biology of hydrilla. Hydrilla is a plant that developed in parts of Africa and Asia where they tend to have monsoon rains. So there's temporary lakes form in what was otherwise a dry field in the non-monsoon times of year. So the plant, its survival strategy is to send a tuber down into the wet soil of these temporary lakes, and that tuber can sit, even in the lake can dry up, and it can sit there for 5, 6, 7 years and wait for a monsoon to refill that basin, and then the plant very quickly goes through its life cycle and sends new tubers down. You take that plant to California with our gorgeous weather and a lake like this with year-round water, and the plants they can stay happy as can be for a very, very long time. So our application technique is a slow released, initially if a plant is found, we use a contact herbicide, which is copper-based, to immediately burn down the plant, the biomass, so that we don't get fragmentation and additional tubers formed. And then we go into our long-term sonar. Sonar's the product name, the label name. Fluoridone is the active ingredient, and we utilize a slow-release pellet. And that's when, if you see our boats out there with a large hopper on the front, and they're throwing out clay pellets. We broadcast those roughly 5 times a year, and those sit at the bottom of the lake and very slowly emit the fluoridone, which takes care of any tubers that are sprouting and beginning to grow. So we kill the plant at a very small, right at the dirt level. But as I said, this year, it's been 7 years since our last plant find was in 2016. So last year we were treating 85 acres still in 9 different areas around the lake. We did not reduce any acreage last year because the previous years were so dry, the lake level was so low. That limited our ability to conduct survey. There was hundreds of yards of shoreline that were just dry mud that we couldn't really survey, but tubers could certainly be living in there. So we did treat 85.71 acres last year, but this is the first year, like I said, since about 2007 that we're going to have no treatments. That is our intention going into the year. If we find a plant, we will have to conduct treatments. And so the confusion that I don't want to have, that I'm trying to avoid, is we are going to be sending out our normal notice of intent. Any property owner around the lake that touches the lake gets a letter from us every year that's signed by the agricultural commissioner, notice of intent of our intent to treat, and then identifies the potential products that we might use. So we are still going to send those out, and I don't want this to be confusing to the public, but initially we don't intend to have any treatments conducted this year. But that notification is, we're legally required to do that if we make an application. And if we are to find a plant, our protocol, our policy is to treat within 48 hours of finding that plant. And if we had to go through the public notification process, that would delay us quite a bit. So we're, preemptively going to say that we potentially could treat, but initially at the start of the year, we do not intend to do any herbicide applications in Clear Lake this year. That's about all I wanted to say. Are there any questions for us, or do you want me to expand on any of? There's always a lot of confusion about what we're doing out there on the lake. The vast majority of the time, we're just surveying. So, but the crews throwing the hooks to the layperson, it looks like someone throwing a application hose in the water. So we get lots of questions about our treatments. So
Which is good. Questions are good.
yeah, absolutely. I have nothing to hide.
I appreciate you approaching the board and letting us know the current status of hydrilla in the lake and your plans. I want to open it up for question and comments to help guide the conversation any further. Are there any questions or comments?
I don't have any.
Supervisor Green.
I assume the plan to not treat anything is a general measure of success. That
Absolutely.
What you've seen in past years, you've kind of kept it down to a dual roar.
Yes.
That said, it's still endemic.
Yes.
So going back to your previous statement, we didn't do treatments, and then it kind of bit you in the butt. So how are you balancing that? If you're not going to do treatments this year because of a general good state of affairs, how do you know it's not biting you in the butt later?
So this is, I will say that this lake nationwide is famous for the eradication effort. It's very unique. In California, we're lucky that we're so isolated. There aren't boats coming, from the Delta with hydrilla on it. Hydrilla doesn't exist in the Delta. So because we're able to isolate and treat, we had the opportunity to eradicate it here, and that's what we've pursued. At some point we have to stop treating. We can't, there's no reason to just continue to put pesticide in an area. We do use a tracking system. We have identified some areas that over the years had cycled in and out of treatments. We'd end treatments, and a few years later we'd find a plant, and we've made some tweaks to those areas, extended the treatment time or the size of those applications to try to tackle those problem areas. But like I said, at some point we have to stop treating just because, and the protocol that we use is in line with the biology of the plant as we know it, for how long a typical tuber might last in the soil. It's typically about 5 years. And from what we've seen elsewhere in the state of when in the past when we pulled ponds out of treatment, it would usually take 3 to 4 years, and we would find a plant. That has repeated itself in our history, and that's why we went to the 7-year protocol. And we've been reducing acreages 7 years after treatment for many years now, and none of those prior, nothing has popped back up. Nothing has come back into since 2016 was the last plant find. So we, for the last, I don't have the numbers in front of me, but we were reducing about 100 acres a year for 4 or 5 years there. And none of those acreages have rotated back into treatment from a plant find. So.
Thank you for that. Any other questions or comments? So I get it that right now is a different time period because there's not hydrilla to be found, at least that you're aware of at this moment. But where would you typically find it? And would it be more on the Lakeport side where it's shallower? Would it be on the Clear Lake Oaks side where it's a little bit deeper? Or is it all over?
It's been found all over this lake. There are some portions of the shoreline that don't that I don't think we've ever found plants, but if I brought a map of the history of the lake, it's just ringed.
Okay.
It grew everywhere. We go out to usually about 20 feet deep, more or less. That kind of changes on, like you said, like the deeper, rockier side. The type of sediment, the real fluffy, sandy or loose, loamy sediment, it really likes that. The tubers can hang out there pretty easily, and it establishes well. But it'll grow anywhere in this lake, and it will grow anywhere in the state as well. In the state of California, we have both biotypes. There's monoecious and dioecious hydrilla. We only have monoecious here in Clear Lake, but California is unique. We're good at growing stuff, including things we don't want to grow. So, but hydrilla, this lake is very, very fertile. And you take a horrible water weed like hydrilla, and it just loves it. So, but it will grow anywhere in this lake.
It's very eutrophic in our lake.
Yep.
And just so the public's aware, I know I've gotten a little bit of education, but I could use a review. The type of chemicals that you do use when doing the treatment, if you can describe that.
Sure. So typically, our standard, it's a two-pronged approach. When we have a plant find, we utilize a copper-based herbicide, which we would call a contact herbicide. It literally almost instantaneously breaks down the cell wall of aquatic vegetation, and that is non-selective. It just burns down all vegetation. And we do that to burn the hydrilla plant back to the root crown. The root crown is still there, and it will sprout up and keep growing. But that stops any aquatic weeds spread by fragmentation. You mow your lawn, you throw the grass clippings away, it's totally fine. If you mowed hydrilla into a bunch of 3-inch sections, you would just be spreading thousands of plants. So we burn the plant down with the copper contact herbicide. And then once a plant is found, if we find a floating plant, that doesn't trigger treatment because it doesn't mean anything. It just means that fragment was floating there. I can't justify pouring chemical into a spot that something just moved through. But if we find a rooted plant, we will treat with copper. And then the minimum acreage per the label, we create a 5-acre treatment area around that. And we treat aquatic herbicide applications are kind of different. It's not like spraying a dandelion in your lawn. You're actually, the chemical is in a liquid portion of a lake that can move around. So we do a 5-acre per the label. We do a 5-acre treatment area around that plant find, and then that just gets into our regular rotation. And every 5 to 6 weeks, we would make fluoridone is the active ingredient that we use there. And that's a very low concentration, slow release pellet that we're lucky that hydrilla is particularly susceptible to. But that's the two-prong approach that we utilize.
Thank you very much. Appreciate that.
Absolutely.
So if you've been so successful with hydrilla, is there any way that you can work with the county to move on to the next type of aquatic weeds that we've been discussing here at our board level before?
So no, unfortunately. I do, however, oversee the
I feel like someone else has already asked this question.
The weed management area funding, and the county, the department puts out money for county weed control. So I work with Lake County on that. But no, we don't. Hydrilla, the department itself works on hydrilla because we're mandated by the Food and Ag Code to work on that. We do give out funds for other county weed control, and I will say that my staff are constantly looking. We did find water hyacinth at one of the boat ramps, and we spent a day or two with nets getting it out of there because we know how bad water hyacinth could be. Water hyacinth, if you're not aware, is what's all over the Sacramento-San Joaquin Delta. And as a reference, and that's what Boating and Waterways spends millions of dollars a year trying to control water hyacinth. The state of Florida did not eradicate hydrilla, and it has both hydrilla and hyacinth. And they spend 4 times as much money on hydrilla as they do on water hyacinth. And you can look at the delta to see how bad hyacinth is. That's just a good reference on. Hydrilla is considered the world's worst weed because of its impacts to water.
Well, I'm glad of your success here to at least reduce that and mitigate the problems that it could create for us.
Yeah. And I just want everyone to know we will be here for years and years and years surveying. We're not gonna turn anytime soon. I mean, they're going to be out there looking every year. This is a huge success story if we can if we can.
You had a little quiet hooray behind you.
Oh, of course.
For that, so thank you. And so I would suggest, if there's no further comments or questions, if you can stay there just in case there's a question from the audience that we can't respond to. But I do want to open it up for public comment, and please come on up, Joan.
I'm Joan Moss, and I want to know what is bad about hydrilla. Why do we not want hydrilla in our waters?
Thank you.
To answer the question, hydrilla is it is one of the fastest growing plants in the world. It can grow up to a foot in a day in extreme situations. It can grow under the light of a full moon. It's just extremely good at growing very quickly. As I said, it developed those subterranean tubers, which you can completely dry a pond out, kill every aquatic plant in it, or an irrigation ditch in the California aqueduct, which moves water from Northern California to Southern California. And you can draw those bodies of water out and kill most every aquatic plant. When you fill that back up with water and you have hydrilla tubers present, it just says thank you for the haircut and immediately starts growing again. So what hydrilla does, a impoundment that has hydrilla in it, there's a term called acre feet, which is what you measure the storage capacity of a pond or reservoir. If you have a full monoculture of hydrilla, you will have 80% of that water body will be plant matter, and only 20% of that water body will be actual water. When you try to pump water through an irrigation system, the same thing happens. You lose 80% of the capacity to move water from one part of the state to the other. That is the reason that the department was mandated by Food and Ag Code 6048 to attempt to eradicate hydrilla wherever feasible. It is, but additionally to that, once you get that solid monoculture, there's no dissolved oxygen, there's no sunlight penetration. And hydrilla roots at the soil and it hits the surface and branches laterally, and it forms a mat at the top. Nothing is growing in that pond other than hydrilla. Initially, when these weed beds start, bass fishermen, which obviously love this lake, they love to fish the edges of weed beds. So when any sort of aquatic weed comes in, initially it might provide some of that edge effect. Hydrilla very quickly is 100% takes over the water body, and there's no room for fish. There's no oxygen. It literally kills everything. It just makes black, murky, lifeless water underneath it.
Appreciate the response. Thank you for that. Are there any other public comments? Please come on up.
My name is Angela Depomadao. I am the Lake County Aquatic Invasive Species Program Coordinator. I just wanted to provide a few items of support for this program and thanks. It really is remarkable. So I've worked in 6 states, and throughout any training for invasive species, hydrilla is like the biggest boogeyman out there. In those 6 states I've worked in, there's been examples of non-successful management and control. When I came to Clear Lake, the fact that I heard that hydrilla was on its way to being eradicated was remarkable. So this is very significant. The fact that you guys have been doing such a great job and instilled such an aggressive treatment is fascinating and very exciting. So I'm very excited over here. So thank you guys for your program. We did work with your guys' program a few years ago to create a fact sheet for the public, because there's lots of questions. So I have some of those here available for the public. We also have them at our office. They're also online. One thing I will also want to mention is that the program staff at the hydrilla program has been really great to work with. So you guys know water resources, we're resource constrained, we're strapped. Unfortunately, we're not on the lake every day. We can't just ride around in boats and look at what's going on the lake. And so we really depend on our partners to be some of the eyes out there, let us know what's going on. And this program has been able to do that for us. So thank you to Mike and his team. If they notice anything out in the lake, they're letting me know, they're sending pictures. If it looks like there might be a little fish kill, there's a little bit of a bloom forming, there's something weird they don't normally see, which they know because they're out there every day. They let us know right away, and that is some invaluable information that I don't know how we get elsewhere. You talked about the hyacinth watch or the hyacinth response. We had a hyacinth response that I was alerted to by Mike in a cove out in Glen Haven a few years ago. I was able to assemble a team, and we went out there in a couple days, removed the water hyacinth, and then every year we've gone back and checked. And it was in a little cove. It wasn't visible from the main lake, so even if we were out there doing our normal sampling, we would not have spotted it. But because Mike and his team was out there, they were able to do that and let us know. So really indebted to them and all the support that they've been able to do out on the lake and really help us be more efficient and effective with the funds and the resources that we have. I think that's it. Thank you so much, and to support this program.
Thank you very much. Come on up.
Hello, everyone. My name is Chris Childers. I'm a fisheries biologist. And I just have a simple question for you all. Does fluoridone or copper sulfate have any negative effect on native aquatic vegetation?
Native aquatic vegetation.
Yeah, and then just to move forward with that too, if it does, that could potentially decrease juvenile hitch habitat. It could reduce fitness, and it could also reduce zooplankton in the lake, which these fish actually need to eat as juveniles.
Specific to native vegetation, the copper-based herbicide is very non-selective. It will impact any vegetation in the lake. The fluoridone at the rates, I don't want to speak, I don't know exactly which plant you're talking about. As far as the hitch are concerned, the fluoridone potentially could impact any aspect of the plant. Fluoridone does not impact algae. It's a systemic, so it has to move through the plant. It's absorbed at one location and translocated to another location. So algae don't do that, so algae are not impacted by fluoridone. But in regards to the hitch, we work very closely with Ben Ewing from California Department of Fish and Wildlife. Prior to particularly any copper treatment, if we were to conduct a copper treatment, we have a protocol where we contact Ben Ewing with CDFW prior to, and he will either go do surveys or let us know if there is any suspected hitch habitat in that area. To date, I don't recall that ever being an issue, but we work hand in hand with Ben Ewing prior to those applications. And he basically gives the green light that we can continue our applications. Mike, have we ever altered one because of the hitch? I don't believe we have. So,
Thank you for your response.
Sure.
I see no further hands in Zoom or hands or folks coming up to the mic in the chamber. I'll bring it back to the board. Any final comments or questions? Really appreciate you coming to us and providing an update on the process and the success. And let's make sure to keep coming so that we don't have that gap like we have in the past, and so that we can continue to keep it as mitigated as possible.
Will do.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for the opportunity.
Yep. Johanna, I made a promise I'd give this to you. All right. Let's move on to our 2 p.m. item, 6.11, presentation of overview of Lake County 2050 general plan and local area plans updates. And we have a whole team coming up. Come on up and sit down at the chairs. Make yourselves comfortable.
We should have Tanya and Allison and Jacqueline, maybe, or Andrea. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Mireya Turner, Community Development Director, come to talk to you about my favorite subject. We have recently launched the update for both the general plan and all 8 local area plans. Thanks to board support, we were able to bring on board a renowned planning firm to assist us with the preparation of these community vision documents. And we do have a few members of the PlaceWorks staff that are on our core team attending today via Zoom. General plans are updated every 20 years. Local area plans are similar planning documents in that they are community vision driven plans that talk about what a community wants for itself, where it's going, where it wants to go for the next few years. Because we had such outdated plans, the board supported the decision to update these all at the same time. So this is a very ambitious project. We're all really excited. Oh, and just, to add some more fun, we were able to secure funding through the administrative office, securing an APGP grant to throw in the climate action adaptation plan as well. And so because those are all community vision driven, it works out just splendidly that PlaceWorks is working with us to assist on all of those at the same time. So we don't have multiple vendors holding multiple county visioning meetings. So this actually couldn't have worked out better. The core team on the county is myself, our principal planner, Michelle Iris, our community assistant community, deputy? Sorry. Our deputy community development administrator, Shannon Walker-Smith. And you'll notice next to her is another awesome support team. These are the wonderful women of AmeriCorps who are going to also assist us so that we can pretty much be everywhere in the county gathering input from anybody who walks by, who can't outrun us. Additionally, at some of our future local area plan meetings, you'll see various members of community development staff that will be helping out as well. I am going to now hand it over to PlaceWorks staff to walk you through an overview of the process as well as our community engagement plan, which will help us realize the goal of securing these documents as community vision-driven planning documents. I'll turn it over. Thank you.
Great. Thank you, Director Turner, and thanks for your time, Supervisors and Chair. My name is Tanya Sundberg. I'm a principal with PlaceWorks. Really excited to be here today to present this overview. I also have with me Jacqueline Potzman-Rohr, who's part of our team. We're going to be tag teaming on this presentation. So let me get this going. Okay, so just to start, this slide presents a broad overview of this project. We're calling it Lake County 2050. This includes a comprehensive update to the 2008 general plan, plus all 8 of the county's local area plans. Those are listed here on this slide. It also includes environmental review of those updates. That's required by the California Environmental Quality Act, or CEQA, and that's done through a preparation of an environmental impact report. And finally, as Director Turner mentioned, it includes this concurrent preparation of a climate adaptation plan, and that provides a county-wide framework to adapt to climate change. So we'll cover an overview of all those components as part of this presentation. So I want to start with some background information about these plans that we're updating, and I'll focus a little bit on some of the state legislative updates that we need to keep in mind. In a lot of cases, a big part of the update is to make sure that the plans comply with changes in state law that have happened since the previous general plan and local area plans were prepared. So starting with the general plan, this is a long-range plan. In this case, we're going to be looking out to the year 2050, and it guides the county's decisions on a pretty broad variety of topics that affect the unincorporated parts of the county. The general plan is often referred to as the constitution that guides land use and development in a jurisdiction. It's called a constitution because it provides an overarching framework for all of the more detailed regulations and plans that affect how development can happen. So typically what a general plan does is it first lays out a community identified vision for the future, and then it presents goals, policies, and actions to support the jurisdiction in achieving that vision. So it's important to provide it's important for the general plan to provide consistent direction so everyone has some certainty about the future of the community. And because the general plan it covers such a wide variety of topics, it requires really careful thinking and also real effective community engagement and input so that we can balance growth, conservation, and quality of life in a way that supports the community's vision. And then last, the general plan also serves the purpose of documenting baseline and environmental conditions. And that's really so that everyone has a shared understanding of what the starting point is for the plan. So there are 8 topics that state law requires a general plan to address. Those are typically in the form of individual chapters or elements, but local agencies do have discretion to cover other topics to meet needs of the local community. And there's also not any real requirements about how you organize the topics. So these can be standalone topics or chapters, or they can be combined into broader chapters. In your current Lake County General Plan, you cover the required topics from the state: land use, open space, circulation, housing, conservation, safety, and noise. You don't currently cover environmental justice. That's a new topic that I'll cover a little bit later in the presentation. Your current general plan also addresses some optional topics: public facilities and services, geothermal resources, and an aggregate resources management plan. And then it pulls out agricultural resources and water resources as standalone separate chapters. Those are more broadly required through the open space and conservation topics, but in your general plan, they're currently pulled out as individual chapters. A couple notes here too, that the housing element is part of the general plan, but it needs to be updated on a more frequent schedule than the rest of the general plan. So we typically will do that through a separate process, and that's what's happening here. Your housing element will be updated separately. And similarly, the aggregate resources management plan will be updated separately from the Lake County 2050 process. And then just a final note here that it's really important for the general plan to be internally consistent and for other county plans to be consistent with the general plan so that it can effectively function in this role as a constitution for the county, and so that community members have that certainty about these aspects of their future. So land use is one of the topics that receives the most attention in a general plan update, and part of that is because of this map called the land use map, big part of the general plan. It identifies what kind of land use can be developed on each parcel in the unincorporated county. And then it also provides some basic parameters for how that land use can be developed. So that might mean in residential areas, it tells how, the maximum number of homes per acre that can be developed, or the intensity of a non-residential use, like based on the ratio of square footage to lot size. So those are part of the general plan. And then that sets you up for your zoning map and zoning regulations, which provide a lot more detail on exactly how those land uses can be developed. So I will turn it over now to Jacqueline, who's going to talk about the health and safety element update.
Thanks, Tanya. So to start off, what is the safety element? As Tanya said, it is one of the mandatory elements of a general plan with a focus on natural and human-caused hazards in Lake County, with the overall goal of protecting the county, including residents, businesses, infrastructure, and the environment from natural disasters and other hazards. So these physical hazards can include flooding, severe weather, emergency evacuations, wildfires, and also hazards that may worsen due to climate change, such as extreme heat and drought. Next slide. So the health and safety element is just one part of Lake County's overall approach to protecting the community against hazards, and it integrates with several other county plans to do this. The health and safety element is a high-level, broad document that discusses the county's comprehensive public safety approach. There's also the local hazard mitigation plan, which is a more detailed short-term plan that focuses on specific implementation actions. The emergency operations plan, which is the county's internal plan for response and recovery. And the community wildfire protection plan, which provides an evaluation of wildfire hazards and then strategies for reducing wildfire risk throughout the county. And this project also includes the development of a climate adaptation plan, which will focus on increasing the resilience of human-built and natural systems to climate change hazards. And the safety element will integrate information from each of these plans and tie into them as appropriate to help create a comprehensive public safety approach. And then the other benefits of updating this element are to ensure consistency with the other general plan elements and agency plans, comply with state regulations, which I'll go over in the next slide, and then improve eligibility for grant funding to implement resiliency and hazard mitigation projects. Next slide. So since the previous update to the general plan, several new laws have come into effect for the safety element. These updates to the government code increase requirements for flood and wildfire sections of the element to identify responsible agencies, ensure coordination among these agencies, as well as minimize the risk to new buildings and critical facilities. There's also a focus on climate change and adaptation through SB 379, requiring safety elements to prepare a vulnerability assessment that identifies risks to hazards and then develop a comprehensive set of goals, policies, and implementation actions to build resilience in the community. SB 2140 allows for the incorporation of the local hazard mitigation plan, which makes the county potentially eligible for increased disaster relief funds. And then 3 of the new laws, SB 99, AB 747, and AB 1409, focus on evacuation, requiring the identification of evacuation routes and location, capacity, and safety, as well as evacuation constrained areas. Next slide. The vulnerability assessment is the analysis that will be conducted for the health and safety element update. This assessment will evaluate how people and community assets, such as buildings, infrastructure, and economic systems, may be affected by climate change hazards, as well as the degree to which they're vulnerable. The vulnerability assessment will also assess the availability of existing policies, programs, resources to help people prepare for, respond to, and recover from impacts. And the results of this analysis will include a prioritized set of vulnerabilities that will then inform the resilience and adaptation policies of the health and safety element update and the strategies in the climate adaptation plan. And in Lake County, the expected local climate change impacts include increases in intense rainfall leading to flooding, more frequent extreme heat events, an increase in frequency and length of drought conditions, and then more frequent and intense regional wildfires. So with that, I'll hand it back over to Tanya to go over environmental justice.
Thanks, Jacqueline. So this is the last topic that we want to highlight. This is an entirely new topic that state law requires you to address in your general plan based on a state law passed in 2016. So again, it's not in your current general plan. Just for setting some groundwork here, just thinking about how we define environmental justice. You can see here how it's defined in state law. I think a lot of people have different opinions on what this definition should be, but I think about it simply as just the basic right of everybody to be able to live, work, go to school, play, and worship in a healthy and clean environment. But what this law recognizes and why we are looking at environmental justice in the general plan is that low-income communities, communities of color, and tribal communities have experienced a combination of historical discrimination and negligence. And today, these communities are often struggling with disproportionately polluted and unhealthy environments, as well as disproportionate social and economic disadvantages like poverty or housing instability. So under this law, communities that are facing that combination of challenges are termed disadvantaged communities. And the focus of the general plan environmental justice element is to improve conditions in those communities. So the state law that led to this new requirement is called SB 1000. It identifies a specific list of environmental justice issues that need to be addressed in the environmental justice element. And the county doesn't have to be limited to these issues, but it needs to at least address these issues. So for any communities that are identified as disadvantaged in the county, this environmental justice element will need to identify policies and programs to reduce pollution exposure, provide adequate public facilities and services, promote access to food that's affordable and nutritionally adequate, provide safe and sanitary housing, and promote access to opportunities for physical activity. And also when we think about making these changes, we know it can't be a top-down process. We need to emphasize equity in policy making, and that requires us to involve all of the affected communities in the decisions that affect their lives. And then finally, based on this legislation, we also need to make choices that prioritize improvements in those disadvantaged communities that have historically faced the greatest impacts. Okay, so we're going to move on now to the local area plans. Local area plans are also long-range plans, but they're for a more localized area. So they provide policy and design guidance that's really attuned to the local area. So the local area plans operate under the umbrella of the general plan. So it's important that they're consistent with the general plan and that they also complement the other local area plans. So as part of this role, they serve as a more precise supplement to the general plan for the local area. Finally, local area plans also provide land use and zoning information, an important part of their function. So as part of this update under Lake County 2050, we do plan to reorganize the general plan and local area plans to streamline the content and avoid redundancy. So many of these required and optional general plan topics that we've talked about are best planned at a more localized scale. So we plan to cover those in the local area plans. That includes land use, circulation, open space conservation and recreation, environmental justice, and public facilities and services. And then the remaining topics will be addressed at the countywide scale as part of countywide elements in the general plan. And that includes health and safety, noise, geothermal resources, agricultural resources, water resources, housing, and the aggregate resources management plan. I'm going to turn it back over to Jacqueline to talk about the EIR.
So the California Environmental Quality Act, or CEQA, is the state's primary environmental protection and disclosure law. For the general plan update, we'll be preparing an environmental impact report, or EIR, which will be an informational document for decision-making for the project. The EIR will disclose information about the effects of the project on the environment, identify mitigation measures to reduce significant impacts, and describe feasible alternatives to the proposed project that are designed to reduce any environmental impacts identified. The EIR must be certified prior to project approval as well. And this process does provide 2 public comment periods, one during the scoping phase to tell us what to analyze, which occurred this past January and February of this year. And then the second will be during the public review phase of the draft EIR to comment on the environmental analysis itself. Next slide. So this project will also include a climate adaptation plan, which will be on a slightly different schedule and timeline than the general plan and EIR. The climate adaptation plan is part of the adaptation planning grant Lake County received, and this plan will build off of the work conducted for the health and safety element through the climate vulnerability assessment, and also include additional community outreach and engagement to develop an adaptation plan and implementation framework for increasing resilience of residents, visitors, the built system, and natural resources to hazards that may worsen due to climate change. And with that, I'll hand it back over to Tanya to go over the schedule.
Thanks, Jacqueline. So this slide just shows broad picture what we're looking at for Lake County 2050 overall. We are planning on a 3-year process. We kicked off the project last fall. We've been doing background research and setting up for community engagement since then. We are, as Jacqueline just described, the climate adaptation plan, as she mentioned, that's on a separate, slightly different schedule. So that just kicked off. We're expecting that work to be complete in fall of 2025. For the countywide elements work, we expect that to move relatively quickly with draft elements anticipated in fall of this year. And then for the local area plans, we're initiating that right now this spring, and we'll be working on alternative approaches to policy and land use guidance in those plans through this fall. And then the work to prepare the full drafts of the local area plans will continue through spring of 2025. And at that point, we'll be able to begin the EIR evaluation, which will take us to publication of the draft EIR in spring of 2026. And then we anticipate public review and adoption concluding in fall of 2026. So I'm going to turn your attention now to a separate attachment in your staff report. I have a few slides to go over this community engagement plan. This is one of our initial tasks for Lake County 2050. And it's a plan that lays out how the general plan and local area plans update process will reach the entire community. So the plan starts by identifying the engagement objectives. As an overarching objective, the project aims to hear from a wide range of community members to shape these plans. But more specifically, the desired outcomes are to ensure that community members understand the project and why it's important, promote robust and diverse community participation that represents all perspectives, and builds public trust in the process and support for the general plan and local area plans. We know that historically certain groups have been underrepresented in planning related decisions, so the plan lays out how we can make intentional efforts to reach and include these groups. And that includes low-income households, Native American tribes, non-English speakers, older residents, younger residents, and renters. And then the plan also lays out the activities, the main activities that we'll undertake to engage the community. That includes a General Plan Advisory Committee, or GPAC, that you helped to recently establish. That consists of stakeholders from the community that have a different range of perspectives. They'll guide the process, and they'll also be acting as community ambassadors. We also are planning to hold community-focused workshops for the local area plan updates process. We'll have 3 rounds of those workshops, and each round will have 1 meeting in each of the local area planning areas. That may be a part of the established advisory body for that planning area, which is the case for our first round of community workshops. We just recently scheduled those for April. They will be part of the advisory body meeting, and we just listed those on our website. So we're right now, as we speak, initiating outreach to spread the word about those upcoming workshops. And then we will be holding some stakeholder focus groups on individual topics, and those topics are still to be determined. And last, I just want to highlight here our project website. This is live and ready to use. It's lakecounty2050.org. Please help spread the word and direct your friends and family to this website. They can learn about the project. There's a survey available right now that will help us to learn more about some of the key issues for the update. So really encourage folks to check that out. So just real quick on terms of next steps. This is, of course, a 3-year process, so there's a lot ahead of us. But in the near term, I think the main thing we are looking for is folks to help spread the word about the project and our upcoming community workshop series in April. So please check out the website, check out the survey, come to one of these meetings, and encourage folks to do that, because we want to hear from as many folks as we can. So this concludes our presentation. I thank you for your time and welcome any questions.
If we could highlight one last item, I briefly mentioned our AmeriCorps team, a group of awesome local women that will be boosting our presence in the community. So I'd like our Deputy Community Development Administrator bring them up, introduce them, and just kind of let you know a number of the events that we plan on attending.
Good afternoon, Board. Thank you, Maria. So I have been working on the community engagement piece of this project, and we have partnered with NCO's AmeriCorps CERC team to help us out as we try to gather as much input on this initial survey as we can. These lovely ladies, I'm going to allow them to introduce themselves in just a moment, will be helping us out at that first round of local area plan meetings. We're going to be facilitating some small group breakouts, and they'll assist with that. And then they're planning to attend a variety of events through April and early May to collect input on that survey from those folks that are not attending community meetings, with an effort to really target those target audiences that were discussed in the PowerPoint presentation. Those events will include a variety of neighbor fests that are being planned by NCO, as well as a senior event. And I'll let them talk about any additional events. Once we have wrapped up the initial survey, which that's going to conclude in May, as we go through the remainder of the process, the different stakeholder groups and the different topics that we need to address, we may develop more community-focused questions. And if, when we get to that point, the AmeriCorps members will continue to help us canvass the community for answers to those questions. So it really is our intention to draw in as much community input as we can. We have also, with the help of admin and auditor's office, so thank you to them, we have gotten approval to purchase some incentive items because we know that incentivizing survey responses from underrepresented groups is a best practice, and we want to make sure that we're doing our best effort in that regard. And without further ado, I will have the AmeriCorps members introduce themselves. Maybe just say how long you've lived in Lake County and why you're interested in being involved in this project.
I'm Amanda Joe. I've lived in Lake County. I moved here in 3rd grade, so I don't know, a while ago. I love it here. I moved here from Daly City, and it's nice to be in a community that actually cares about each other, that there's nothing, this is home. And so it's nice to be a part of something that's making home better.
Hi, I'm Dawn. I've been here for about 12 years now. I moved from the Bay Area, and it's nice. It's definitely different up here. I like it because it's a little lower pace. I was used to the hustle bustle and all the traffic, so it's nice to not have so much traffic. But I'm just happy to be here and just willing to. Hopefully, we can get all this situated and get everything ready for all the plans. We have a lot going on in April. Tammy's not here, but she'll be here next time. But it should be fun doing all this for you guys.
I'm Pamela Coleman. I'm born and raised here in Lake County, and I'm excited for all the events we have coming up in April and to be more part of the community and help make it better.
Thank you, ladies, so much. We're very appreciative for the partnership with NCO. Thank you.
We would also like to extend our appreciation to our technical side of our team, Sam Houston, at Thomas DeWalt, with PEG TV and the assistance of Chair Supervisor in working out all the different technical sides. As a result of these ongoing conversations, we realize that there are a number of local area plan meetings that have sketchy and somewhat unreliable internet access. Because of that, we'd love it if, as we're getting the word out and as you're assisting us in getting the word out for these local meetings, if you would encourage strongly on-site participation. We really don't want to lose anybody's input. Everybody has a voice here. So on-site participation is our most reliable way of having your voice heard during those meetings, or feel free at any time to send us an email with your comments. That would be at lakecounty2050@lakecountyca.gov, or you can go on the website as well, lakecounty2050.org. Is it org? Yes. Yes. And we welcome any questions, comments that you might have.
Thank you so much for your participation and the explanation of how all of this will progress. Thank you to AmeriCorps and the partnership with NCO to provide some extra capacity to be able to deal with all of these large projects. Very thankful that we're moving forward with this. This has been a long time coming, so excited to hear that it's not just been approved, that we're ready. Any comments or questions from board members? Supervisor Green.
Yeah, thank you. I wonder if I'm looking specifically at slides 4 and 13. So on slide 4, we talk about what the general required topics are for the general plan. Land use would be one of them. On 13, I notice land use is parsed out as a local area plan topic, but I don't see a general land use policy that would be addressed countywide. So I know this may filter up somehow, but can you explain how the required general plan elements that are not named in slide 13 as a countywide element that may be addressed within the local area plans? I guess I'm trying to find out how we get consistency among the required general plan elements when they're parsed off into these local area plans where by definition consistency is something we may not achieve. We want to drill down. So it's just how do general plans in general live? What are the required elements? And how did we mix and match these various topics in the countywide elements identified and in the local area plan topics?
Thank you. I appreciate that question. So because our local area plans were so outdated and we were going to update them simultaneously with the general plan, and actually local area plans are considered sort of sub-documents of the overall general plan, we decided to put the more robust information in the local area plans so that we could make sure we're really capturing the community's vision for the future. The housing element or the land use element of the general plan, like a number of the other required elements, could be found either in the general plan or in our local area plans. They just have to be covered in our planning documents. And so we've kind of relied on the flexibility that the state does allow for us to put more of the focus of the future planning within our local area plans. But it is the goal to have these be synchronized plans, so they should not be inconsistent with each other. And I think that moving the land use element over to the local area plans will help keep that consistent as well. And PlaceWorks can jump in if I left anything out.
Looks like you did well. As far as the PEG TV thing, there are going to be some new locations. Those locations are definitely where the unknowns are, hence the letting people know, make sure that you are attending in person just in case. There has been some on and off broadband capacity in some of the other locations that we know, but at least it's a location that we know and we'll be able to diagnose and deal with that. And so hopefully we'll do the best that we can. Those videos will be posted on our platforms that PEG TV has, including our channel, but we'll also be providing the videos back to the county so the county can post them wherever they feel that it's needed to be posted. Thank you for that relationship and looking forward to see how that works out.
And one more highlight, this morning we did secure the services of Gilbert Rangel for on-site Spanish translation. So we're real excited to team up with the Equalingual.
You guys move fast. That was only brought up yesterday.
We're not messing around. We can adapt and overcome, but all the details we can get nailed down early are better for us.
Awesome. Supervisor Simon.
Just one thing in the countywide elements, as Supervisor Green was talking about, just make sure we have cultural resources. I know it's never been added to any of the plans in the past, but definitely a conversation I think that needs to be had throughout our conversations right now, because as you know, most of our tribal nations are not actually setting on our tribal lands. The ancestral lands were taken from us, we were removed. Most of the construction and other stuff done in all counties, especially in our county, is on our ancestral land. So cultural resources, I think, is something that's missing in there. As I was reading the resources, I thought I'd mention it right now.
That will be included in the environmental analysis, but I also want to take this moment to highlight the value of tribal input as we go through this process. I guess I don't need to tell you guys, Lake County is unique, I think, in its assets of the tribal history and the resources that we do have here. And as we proceed, we want to make sure that we have input from all of our community members. That includes people who are affiliated or live on sovereign ground as well. And so our planning commissioner from District 3 made a wonderful recommendation when we did this similar presentation then, that just saying that sometimes tribal members are uncomfortable traveling to community meetings. So perhaps we should make the opportunities or take advantage of any opportunity to go and meet with their tribal council and gather input in an environment that is comfortable, which I appreciate that Supervisor Crandall is already assisting on that way. And additionally, we've reached out to the tribal EPAs, and I think we're going to be added to their April agenda. So we'll get to meet with the different tribal environmental leadership at their group meetings. So we are open to and welcoming all opportunities. And so if you think of another opportunity that you think would be valuable, let us know.
Okay.
Thank you for the question. Vice Chair Crandall?
I was just going to add that with the PEG TV, it'll be posted on YouTube, like we mentioned. How much time? How much time will folks have if they miss the meeting, but they're able to watch the PEG TV and they want to make a comment? They'll have a way to go from there, if that makes sense.
Absolutely. I don't know the normal turnaround time, but as soon as those videos become available, we will post them in a number of locations on the Lake County 2050 site. Also, I think we're going to get, I'm not sure if we're going to get placed on the agenda site. We do have the GPAC meetings are posted there, but the videos should be available, and it's not like we're going to, cut off input the day after the meeting. So anybody who wants to catch up on a meeting that they missed and send in input is most welcome to do so.
And what the other discussion we had earlier too, when we were talking about seating a position for the GPAC, we talked about those other advisory committees per se. And that, I know for that situation, I think that's where I know if there's a tribe in each district and we do go that route, I know that appointing somebody with the experience of the cultural resources would be a big benefit as well. So I'm just adding that input.
Wonderful. And whatever the supervisors can do to encourage applications focused in that area would be most appreciated.
Absolutely. Supervisor Pyska?
Well, we did have a conversation earlier about the area plan committees, and so I don't know if you want to just take a moment for the people that maybe weren't part of that conversation.
Well, it's a decision that is yet to be made by the board.
But it's a proposal that you'll be bringing to us.
Indeed. It is tentatively scheduled for the next Board of Supervisors meeting for the board to consider establishing 8 local area plan advisory committees, the purpose of which, as will be described and put before you next week, is to really drill down on the community-specific, what I think of nuts and bolts, like where are the community growth boundaries going to go, that sort of a thing. And additionally, to allow opportunities for the community to be heard on a micro, on an area plan level in order to secure as much input and deliberation as possible.
Right. So I'm looking forward to that as someone who has their district pretty much equally divided into 3 area plans. Like, this is going to be a lot of work. And I think it's going to also take a while to figure out how to make those appointments with the area plan. So it might be, when do you think you want, I mean, I know this isn't a conversation for today, but, if we do visit that at our next board meeting, it would be helpful to maybe have time to discuss this with the Max too.
Yes. Yes. And I will be happy to discuss that.
Okay, great.
At the next board meeting.
And I believe that would be finalized prior to the beginning because April 8th, April 10th is the first one.
So hypothetically, should the board decide to establish these 8 groups, we would then rely on the administrative office, team up with them to get the press release out to solicit applications. So the timeline would actually be establishing what I call LAPACs after our first local area plan meeting. But we do have time in between those, although our timeline is a very ambitious one and there's work going on all the time for it. We will then look to weave in these local area plan advisory committee meetings so that they will help inform the ongoing GPAC meetings as well.
Okay. I just see the opportunity during the going to all the MACs and all the other meetings to be able to say, here's what we've just created. We're going to be looking for applications. That's a good advertisement platform at that point, since you're already meeting with the community right there and then. My last thought, in order to ensure, this is based on what Vice Chair Crandall was mentioning, is maybe on the agendas having a link to where the videos will be uploaded, whether it's the Lake 2050 website or not. That way it's an easy access to get those things, and let me know if you need any other maybe PEG stuff. I would prefer that it go to a Lake County thing that we advertise, since it's our agenda, but happy to add anything else where we would be uploading it to as well.
Awesome. Thank you. I've been hogging the whole time. Do you have anything to add? No?
And I do have one last question for you, just curiosity. Right now, and there's two plans where the cities are kind of embedded. Are the cities going to be carved out? Because I know there's not been confusion, but there's been statements that the cities are part of such and such plan when obviously the county doesn't get to make a plan for the city jurisdictions. Just kind of curious if it's you'll see a carve out on this new map for those individual area plans.
Thank you. We have taken advantage of a number of opportunities to behave regionally, and that is targeted around our climate adaptation areas, both in the climate adaptation plan as well as the health and safety plan, climate vulnerability analysis, and the countywide evacuation plan. In those, it was appropriate, as we discussed with the city managers, appropriate to just go regionally and just treat it as Lake County as a whole. However, since the city of Lakeport and the city of Clear Lake are standalone jurisdictions with their own general plans and their own, I don't think they have area plans, but their general plans, they are not included in the community visioning that we are doing for our planning areas as well as our general plan.
And the same thing would be said as well about tribal land too.
Indeed.
Where it's embedded within the area plans, but again, no jurisdiction over those areas from the county.
We have had some discussion regarding any value of our climate plan for tribal nations, which are also responsible for their own climate plans. But so far, we haven't really found that nexus because, the tribes respond to federal, not California state plans like we do. So, but we're always looking for these opportunities, though.
So I have a stupid question to ask. I know we're looking at the EIR and CEQA. Is there any benefit by looking at certain areas where I feel like we're either relying more on federal funding? We've been getting a lot of funding through congressional support, but also because of the status of our budget at the state level, that maybe that will push us to get more federal support or seek more federal support, where certain areas might get reviewed in a NEPA perspective, so that again, it allows us to maybe go through certain processes faster in the future as we develop? You don't have to answer that today. It's just
That's an interesting
random
question.
thought.
I will be happy to take it to the team for further discussion. I know that we don't have any plan to do a NEPA analysis of a state project or a state-oriented project.
Okay.
At this time.
Thank you very much. Any further, Supervisor Green?
Yeah, this may be for the later discussion on the lay PCs, I think you got them. But before we go too far down that road, for the 8 plan areas we have called out, for example, Lakeport area plan, we discussed last week, it includes part of Kelseyville. I was just looking at it. It doesn't include parts of Scotts Valley that are currently included in the Upper Lake plan. So, and we're about to, depending on what happens when this comes back, have not just robust input from our municipal advisory councils, but it sounds like we may be spinning up some advisory councils that follow a different geography. So I don't know how helpful I know it's a baseline, we're kind of stuck with it, but the current mapping of our area plans is not contiguous in any way with our town hall regions. And I'm just struggling how to resolve that, because I'm bending over backwards to get my guys from Scotts Valley here for a special meeting to provide input on the Lakeport area plan. Didn't even occur to me until I looked at the maps now. Maybe I need to cart them up to Upper Lake for a meeting too. So how are you going to balance, because I'm not going to, how are you going to be able to balance the stated geography of our baseline area plans with the knowledge that our communities of interest and our municipal advisory councils in particular don't represent the geography of those area plans, with the exception of the one we just created?
Well, we do keep in mind that the municipal area councils, such as Scotts Valley, have a larger purpose than just the general plan. So they do comment on a variety of land use elements, but they also comment, or they also are advisory bodies for a whole other slew of things that doesn't have anything to do with this. So we We decided to use our municipal area councils as the kickoff locations. One, because you already have a focused body that continually talks about community issues, and these members are also getting messages out to the greater community, so it was a great starting point. But to answer your question about boundaries, during our first local area plan meetings coming in April, the question of do these boundaries still reflect our communities is actually one that we're going to cover. There may be some adjustments done so that we, going forward, reflect the communities as they are currently.
And I would suggest that the MACs are more of a community-based, while area plans are more geographically based in of what's appropriate to talk about all at the same time. So I think it confuses things because we're utilizing the MACs to try to get access to the community to get feedback on, but I think they're two separate things, in my opinion. And I think that goes right in line with what you just stated too.
Absolutely. Area plans are more of thematic, kind of similar communities. Like you have the Rivieras, which has all 4 HOAs in that large collection of subdivisions, and Kelseyville, which is more agrarian or commercial, so it focuses on Kelseyville, Big Valley, and Findlay. So yeah, we're definitely open to public input, and we have been approached by a few members of the public already wanting to discuss possibly adjusting the boundaries, and so that will be one of the areas that we talk about.
All right. Thank you so much. Let's go ahead and open it up for the public. I don't think I've done that yet. Please raise your hand if you're on Zoom or come to the microphone in the chamber. And we have Betsy Kahn.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you, everybody else. I have, unfortunately, a lengthy list of concerns about this, and many of those concerns that I have been talking to our other committee members about have to do with the outreach and education for the public. I find the survey to be a very big disappointment, and I'll certainly provide my comments in detail to Maria and the crew. But I just do want to explain the necessity to have actual data for making evaluations of prioritizing policies and goals in the general plan needs to be based on actual real data, and that we have many, many sources for that real data. The surveys are almost a random sampling of whoever might feel like being involved in, and maybe they heard about it, maybe they didn't, but real data is actually very valuable. There's some ambiguity in the survey itself, so I'd like to have an opportunity to work with the CDD and make this element of the content analysis far more specific. And we need to talk about those area maps, et cetera. In the regard to the Lakeport area plan, the city and Scotts Valley Water Conservation District have a very important relationship because the groundwater basin in Scotts Valley supplies roughly half of the potable water to the city itself, but the area plan doesn't include the city, so we need to have an intergovernmental relationship there to have a comprehensive, reality-based area plan that comes out that includes everything. So those are just some suggestions. The background report, I think, is very important to us to lead to the analysis and prioritization of what we come up with for, especially for our safety element. Thank you very much.
Thank you for your comments, and please do submit the rest of your comments via email. Any other hands in the room or in Zoom? And seeing none, I'll bring it back to the board. This was a presentation only to make sure everyone, ourselves included, are alerted as to the process and when things are happening. Appreciate everything that you've put together to get this beast moving, and it's exciting.
Thank you.
And I think that, thank you very much for your presentation.
Thank you.
And that will conclude our open session items for today. We are going to go back to closed session. We have 2 more items: Public Employee Evaluation, Public Works Director, and Registrar of Voters, and that's 8.1 and 8.2 respectively. And with that, we will go into closed session. Thank you very much for joining us today.